What's up, everyone? Welcome to GameFace, episode 420. You know what that means. Some of you may know what that means. Some of you may not, actually. But it is a very special episode. You may notice by the intro music before the show started. We were playing some reggae and some dub there to get in the mood for episode 420 for GameFace. Alongside me to do that is the one and only Matthew Keil. What's up, Matt?
Yeah.
You ready to celebrate 420?
Same as I always do.
Which is not at all?
No.
Well, we're here to celebrate 420 with you guys. It's the 420th episode of GameFace, which is, to me, Matt, is just freaking mind-blowing that we've done 420 episodes of this show. That is amazing. Like, again, I think Invisible Walls only got to like 230 or something before I left. So I've almost doubled the amount of episodes of Invisible Walls that I did with GameFace at this point. And we are going to celebrate 420 a little bit on today's show today. We're going to go back to my college days and talk a little bit about playing video games while smoking weed with some of my buddies back in college. Maybe as you start to remember your past, you can start thinking of some great moments you had when you mix the two together. They are a pretty good combination, if I do say so myself, at least from what I remember from my college years with all my buddies. Anyway, we have an awesome episode for you guys today. I guess the first thing I would say is the SIFTD Fantasy Challenge is now closed. We did our very best to promote it to all you guys and girls. We gave a last call. I actually haven't checked to see how many entries we have this year to see if we have more or less than last year. But I definitely put in the effort to try to get as many people to sign up as possible. Hopefully you guys already did. If you didn't, it's over. It's too late to get your entries in. Now all that's left is for us to sit and watch and wait and see how everything plays out. I did take a peek. It did appear that roughly 80% of entries had Grand Theft Auto 6 first, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if it does come out, you're not winning without it.
Right, so. Yeah, and I think it is going to come out.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably a good ploy by you guys to make sure you got that on your team. But that seemed to be the one overarching theme of everybody's like, where did they put Grand Theft Auto 6 in their pick list? And I'll admit I put it first, but again, Matt and I can't win. We just play for fun. We just play alongside you guys to see you guys and cheer you guys
knows?
up.
Like there's a world where GTA comes out and gets like an 8.
Yeah, because the expectations are so ridiculous at this point.
Are there higher expectations for any game ever?
Probably not. Never.
No.
I can't think of a game that had more hype. Like, thinking back to, like, Doom 3 and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But no, it doesn't. It pales in comparison.
Doom just wasn't universal on the level of what this is, and into a mass audience that almost pays attention to no other video games.
Yeah.
And also kind of Rockstar's, like, secrecy factors in, too, because we just don't know anything.
Nothing.
You know?
It's really we're going to talk about it the game here in a little bit.
So much time has passed, and so much time since that one trailer where like everybody's had time to formulate their own ideas of what they think this is going to be.
Yeah.
So the odds of it being
will it match up or not?
just because you thought it was going to be something different than what it is even higher.
You're right. Yeah.
And you know, in the past that hasn't mattered. Like GTA has always kind of overcome the expectations and sort of exceeded. Or even if people's like, oh, I thought it was going to be this thing, but actually what they did is way better. You know?
Yeah.
Like they've generally
stayed ahead of the
threaded
curve.
That needle.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
6. I mean, they haven't really done 6 of them.
Yeah.
The first 2 don't really count.
Yeah.
Right?
But anyway, so it's all closed. SIFTD Fantasy Challenge is locked and loaded. Now we just sit back and watch. I recommend bookmarking the results page so you can go back and check it whenever you want. Again, that page is really cool that Lashik set up because it scrapes data from Metacritic.com. So as soon as a review goes up for one of your games, it is in there and in your scoring. So it really is a dynamic scoring sheet that updates as games are reviewed, and Metacritic puts them into their database. So it's pretty cool to watch during the year. Good luck to you guys. Again, Matt and I can't win, but we'll be playing alongside you and rooting you guys.
I can win.
Well, we're always winners, Matt.
I can't win the prize, but I can.
You can win.
Get number 1.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. A couple other things in. I guess I should bring up the housekeeping.
Break my number 5. Did you break your mug?
I did. Yep. I just broke it in your sink, actually, trying to clean it. You can see I broke the handle off of it. It sucks, man. This mug is from 1995. I did an interview with the owner of 611 Records. I was a journalism student at Temple at the time. I did an interview with the owner of 611 Records. His name is Nigel Richards. He is a world-famous DJ, although not as big now as he was back then. And he gave me this mug as a thank you for interviewing him. And I've had this since like 1994 or 95. And today I was washing it in Matt's sink and I dropped it and the handle snapped right off.
That's what that was.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say this though, it is a clean break. I think I may be able to super glue it.
Fix that.
We'll see how it goes. I just want to make sure I don't cut my hand during the show today. That would be the worst thing that could possibly happen. That did hurt my soul a little bit when it dropped. I'm glad it's a clean break. Maybe I can save it. But anyway,
I have some Gorilla Glue that can probably solve that.
Yeah, it's also porcelain, so it's like porous. It's easier to glue than like a slick surface. So we'll see. But anyway, that was one thing that happened today.
Well, you may still want to grab it by the whole thing.
I'm gonna be very careful today. I'm just gonna spin it around.
Even when you glued it, you probably don't
want
to
hold
it by the handle.
But Matt, you can glue a man by his helmet, and he can suspend himself.
Yeah.
There's Luna. What's up, girl? She hasn't been on the show in a while, man. She's been hanging out like in the other parts of the crib, but she made an appearance today. What's up, girl? So anyway, Fantasy Challenge is over. I broke my damn mug. You may remember last week we talked about how we were starting to break out our reviews and our previews, our big ones anyway, out of GameFace, and we're going to produce them as separate videos. Well, we did that, and the response has been overwhelmingly awesome. So I just want to thank everybody, one, for all the feedback. You guys provided great feedback on the content, stuff you would like to see maybe tweaked or changed. But just most of all, thank you for the kind words. Almost unanimously, you guys really liked it. And we just published, in fact, our review for Dynasty Warriors Origins this morning on YouTube. So hopefully we'll be able to get some feedback from the people there as well. So far, so good, though. One thing I will say is, like, we're not going to completely remove all game impressions from the show. Like, for example, excuse me, I'm going to talk about the first Berserker Khazan in the show. But that's because I played it for like 2 hours and I could probably talk about it in like 10 minutes. I don't have like long impressions. But anything where it's going to be longer form, Matt and I are going to bounce off of each other. That stuff's all going to be broken out separately. And so far, you guys seem to really like it. A lot of hard work went into that stuff, so it felt really good to get some positive feedback. And then the final thing in housekeeping for today, we have some good news. So I don't know if you remember or not, we used to do a fun little thing called Name That Game Tune here on GameFace, where I would play little snippets of audio from video games. You try to guess the name of the game. It's back. Soundwizardry.com got a new gig. So I don't know if you remember or not, they had to drop as a sponsor because a bunch of layoffs happened at other studios, and the gig that they were working on, the game got canceled. And so basically their revenue was yanked out from underneath them. They have a brand new gig, and they are back as a sponsor here on GameFace. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to Soundwizardry.com for coming back. And we really appreciate it. It makes a huge, huge difference for us. But again, I love Name That Game Tune, and I think you guys love it too. And it'll be coming back at the end of the show, so get ready. And again, I just want to thank Soundwizardry.com for being a great sponsor and a great partner to us, and glad to have them back. So I think that's it. Anything you want to mention before we get into the show, Matt?
I don't think so.
No?
You might want to unpause the chat.
Okay. Let me scroll down here. Actually, let's go to chat before we get into the show. Let's see what you guys are saying up here. Ian Esquire, Matt and Shane are on edibles. Wink, wink. No, definitely not. You ever done that before, Matt? You ever taken an edible?
No.
Like a gummy or something like that?
No.
Do not.
Right.
Don't do it.
Marijuana's never done anything to me.
Oh, really?
Like
really it doesn't affect you at all?
No,
I bet you an edible would.
Probably. That's what everybody says. I don't really care.
Yeah. At this point in your life, if you didn't enjoy it, then why would you bother? Talimper, thank you for Twitch Prime. J Reed Vic 7, thank you for Twitch Prime. Slagathor, thank you. That's awesome. Vincent's talking about something about Capcom. I think there's like a live Capcom thing going on today. It's probably going to be the 8 millionth time that they cover Monster Hunter Wilds would be my guess. Hopefully you guys stick around and watch our show.
I was kind of hoping for maybe some future Street Fighter characters too, now that Mai is about to drop.
Right. Oh, actually, I think what I heard is there's going to be some more on Onimusha, Way of the Sword or whatever in the thing today. We'll see, but that's kind of what I heard through the grapevine.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of stuff they could actually talk about.
Yeah. There's that other game, too, about that little girl and the astronaut.
Yeah. Like,
is that game ever coming out, or is that just going to be lost to the ether?
I don't know. I feel like it probably will, but I mean, remember its the apology thing there. It was like, we'll see you one day. You know, it was just like they had no time frame.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked interesting. I'm curious, but yeah, we may or may not ever hear about that again.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the name of that.
You didn't remember? I don't either. It's called P, something with a P, I think.
Oh yeah. Good job, everybody. Very memorable title.
I mean, that game it's a very weird name, too. It's not something you would associate with a game, typically.
No, I want to say it's like some kind of portmanteau of two words, like para. And
Somebody already probably put it in chat, but I'm scrolled up right now. Ian Esquire, change the title live review to just game review live.
That's probably correct, yeah.
Okay.
Because I swear the algorithms got dumber.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they don't even... Because, like, there was a time when you put, you know, Dynasty Warriors Origins live review, it would still find things that said Dynasty Warriors Origins review. Mm-hmm. And now it kind of does.
No, it's got to be obvious. We'll fix that, absolutely. It's just our pilot, so I just want to kind of get it out there and get feedback. Mm-hmm. That's what this is all about. And you do a pilot, you want to get all the feedback, and you make some tweaks and changes, and then you roll it out for real. Emperor Dread, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Ian Esquire, thank you. What else we got in here? Vincent says the first two don't count, but there were 3 threes. So this is the 6th game under the current paradigm.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Vice
that makes
City
sense.
And San Andreas.
Mighty Pony Girl says Philly. Yep, that's where I was. We're going to hear some stories about Philly today when we go to our 420 segment for sure. Rest in peace, the 611 Records mug. We'll see if we can survive. If we can revive it, we'll see what we can do.
He's not dead yet.
Yep, not dead yet. Swan Senpai, thank you for Twitch Prime. Who else we got here? What's getting broken out today? I don't know what that means.
As in, like, what reviews?
Oh, yeah. So we're only doing one today, and that is going to be Eternal Strands. So you'll look for that the next day or two at our Patreon and on SIFTD.net. And then obviously a few days later it'll roll out for everybody else. What about the YouTube stream for GameFace? Yep, that is going to be the final piece of the puzzle. We still have to do our new show open, which is in progress. Thumbnails, which is also in progress, with Matt and I are going to take some embarrassing photos for that here in the very near future.
Pragmata, that was it.
Pragmata, yeah. So did I say it with a P?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
I
it was.
said portmanteau of something. Pragmatism and stigmata. Sure.
You got everything but that. That's hilarious. And then YouTube stream. We have to. So here's the thing.
Vincent says Onimusha, Monster Hunter, and the 2 Capcom collections are what they're showing.
Okay. So we use OBS to stream to you guys, and you have to basically hack OBS to make it stream in 2 places at once. And so I actually have the hack. I just haven't installed it yet into OBS, and I need to test it and do some other stuff at home before I try it here. Anyway, as you could see if you watched our Patreon this week, I was busting ass this week, man. I literally crushed it this week. I think I published on my own 8 videos in a week. So I was plenty busy. Doing these things for the first time takes forever. The first live review, cutting it together, it's 50 minutes long. And everything we mention, there is footage showing exactly what we're talking about. It takes a long time. But we also had to figure out the graphics and create a template in Premiere and all this other stuff you have to do when you first start a show. It should be much easier going forward. At least I hope so. Minority Games, what's the deal with all the bad press regarding Assassin's Creed? I don't know what you're talking about. Did you watch my preview? No bad press in that preview. I haven't seen any bad press for Assassin's Creed.
I haven't seen any from actual outlets. I've just seen chuds whining about
it. Mitchell Ness says YouTube's
there's a contingent that still believes the delay is to remove Yasuke from the game.
Well, I have some bad news for you. YouTube's algorithm changes by the quarter. It feels that way.
I mean, you don't have to play him, I guess, if you don't want to.
No.
And
it starts the game.
The main thing was there was a video of him smashing up a temple, and it was oh, so we're just gonna smash up Japanese culture, and
F off.
And everyone's just
I'm so tired of these
you
people.
are responsible for the buttons you press. You don't have to go do that.
Yeah, it's just like Grand Theft Auto. We're gonna go kill cops now. Yeah. F off. I'm so sick of these people. Tori Until, love the new review format. The background music was a bit jarring. Yeah, because you're not used to it. You'll get used to it. Don't you want to hear the music from the video game that we're covering? It's part of the game.
Flagged?
What'd you say?
It doesn't get you flagged?
No, they don't copyright their official soundtracks. I won't use licensed stuff from Grand Theft Auto. I'll use the official soundtrack for a game though. It never gets flagged.
Nintendo will flag that.
Sometimes it does. And here's the thing though with Nintendo games, you can't turn the soundtrack off.
That's true.
They don't give you the audio options to turn the soundtrack down like most video games do. I don't know when Nintendo's going to join us in the year 2005.
It's so weird.
Like,
sure
I've never
Nintendo
tried to do that, but it's like you said that a while ago, and I went and looked for a bit. I'm just like, yeah, none of them have individual sound. It's just sound.
Yeah, I'm sure Nintendo's hubris is like, we don't want to unmarry our gameplay from our music, and some idiotic thing they've built in their minds. But it's really annoying when you're trying to edit with their games. But yeah, otherwise you can use soundtracks for games. They don't protect them because they want you to use it. You know, the composer wants people to hear the music and blah, blah, blah. You'll get used to it. Don't think about the reviews as a podcast. Think about them as a review. Go back and watch an old game trailers review. There's music through the whole damn thing. You guys love them. Like, you stop building up things in your mind that it's got to be this way. It's got to be this way. Open your mind to new ideas and new concepts. That's been the most frustrating thing for me running SIFTD, dude. Everybody just wants the same damn thing over and over. You try to do new things. You try to come up with innovative ideas. Nobody cares. Just give me another podcast. Just give me another that. It's for someone who's creative, it's infuriating. Swanland says, I have 2 YouTube accounts, one for leisure and another for professional, but I always forget to switch back and forth. Why? Why do you have 2 YouTube accounts?
Because you don't want the same history on each one, because it will give you different recommendations for different subjects.
Anyway.
I have multiple YouTube accounts
really?
for that. Yeah,
it's so
100%.
much work.
You just switch. Google makes it pretty easy, actually.
It's actually been a slow week for news, for gaming news.
Has it?
Yeah, I think it has. I thought it was hard to get a show together. I had to work hard to get a rundown together for today's show. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the biggest story of the week is Forza Horizon 5 is going to PlayStation 5. And Matt, I don't know why, of all the games that Microsoft creates, why Forza Horizon 5 to me was the big one.
Well, because it was it existed before they started doing this. I would say was the main difference.
Huh.
So it's like, it's not just that they're putting out all their new stuff on everything. They're dipping into their back catalog to be like, oh, this would be good for other people to play. And I mean, also, we pretty much got confirmation that Master Chief is coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a known. But for whatever reason, like, Halo and Master Chief Collection didn't hit me like Forza Horizon 5.
The other thing about, I think maybe the reason they did Forza is this probably extends the license.
Oh.
So they probably won't have to delist this as soon as they normally would.
Because aren't we kind of expecting one in the next
They usually
year?
last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and this came out, what, 3 years ago? So you'd be running, you know, next year, probably end of 2026, you'd probably be delisting this. Maybe not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the irony about how
which may indicate that there's not another Forza Horizon coming for a while.
Right. That's a little scary, actually, to think about. Well, you think about the studio's been working on Fable. It's probably all hands on deck for that right now. It's like,
I thought they might get a Horizon 6 out in the meantime before they had to do full, you know, like last final March. But
I think the funny thing about it to me is that this game's 3 years old, and it bothered me more than Halo coming to other platforms. It's like, this game, they've made their money off of it. It's not a big deal for it to come to PlayStation at this point. It's really not. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because this was one of like 3 games that we had to play on Xbox for like 9 years straight. Maybe that's why it's impacted me more.
It's one of their 3. I mean, it's one of their 3 franchises that was so identified with Xbox that we were fucking sick of them.
Yeah, it was a pillar for sure.
Gears and Halo was just like, oh, that's all there is to play on Xbox, and now it's gonna be on PlayStation.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a change. It's a difference. It's putting one of their, you know, what the executive wing would certainly consider one of their flagship 3. Mm-hmm. So that certainly indicates they're serious about it. You know, there's no way around that. There's no way around the idea that, you know, oh, well, they put, you know, Arcane stuff on things because that's just, you know, they didn't have Bethesda before, so Bethesda's been on everything. So, you know, it kind of makes sense to put Starfield on other things because Bethesda wasn't exclusive before.
Right. It feels like we had an excuse for all of the
ones. Like Indiana Jones, like Lucasfilm wants, you know, as many people to play their IP as possible, so they're going to put that on everything. Kind of thing. But now it's just like, no one made you put Forza Horizon 5 on a PlayStation except you.
Yeah.
So clearly this is an indication that they're very serious about this new platform agnosticism. Like, the console wars are over.
Yeah. Did you see that article? Was it Kotaku, I think, that published it this week? That's like, and nobody won.
Yeah. And, like, look, to be fair, like, I don't think I've ever actually outright said the console wars are over, but I have, for, like, several years, been saying it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
None of it matters anymore. The only exclusives that matter are Nintendo's.
The only thing that matters is, are you making money? I mean, that's really what it comes down to at this point. And it feels like all of them have found their own ways to make money off of the market.
It's like Xbox is like, we can't win the console war. PlayStation's eating our lunch. We got to pivot and find something else. It did, and it found something only it had the money to do, which is launch Game Pass. Really, only it had the money to do something like maybe Nintendo could do something like that. It is sitting on a pretty big war chest of money.
Yeah.
But PlayStation, I don't think it has the money to launch something like Game Pass.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I don't think Sony corporate would ever
I don't think
greenlight
they'd be
it.
interested in it.
Yeah.
No.
And so it found its way. Nintendo has found its way with its hybrid and catering to families and younger players. And then PlayStation has just left kind of the old model to itself, which at this point is still highly lucrative.
Like there was that weird, who was it? The ex-Sony exec, I think, that made that comparison between HBO, Netflix, and Disney Plus. Did you see that?
Pachter does that a lot when he compares Game Pass to like other non-Game Pass companies. He'll say it's like comparing a TV show to a film, basically.
He said Sony was HBO, Microsoft was Netflix, and Nintendo was Disney, which a lot of people are confused by because Microsoft is clearly not the 800-pound gorilla
Right.
determining what everyone else does. But they are the one pushing the subscription above all else, and Sony's the one making boutique single player, or were making single player boutique content like an HBO prestige show, and Nintendo has their niche as the family subscription. So I see that as a comparison. I don't know how useful I mean, that's so vague as to almost be like, no shit, dude. Like, yes, you are able to vaguely sum up the overall kind of angle of the three companies. Like, we knew that. We didn't need the streamer like comparison to know that.
Yeah.
But it still is what's happening, and they've all kind of carved out their own little kind of non-competitive niche with each other.
Yeah, seriously.
And
where they're working with each other.
They're just going to coexist like this for the
crazy.
foreseeable future until
Cats and dogs playing together.
somebody dumb enough to try to disrupt it shows up, I guess.
I mean, I think it's good that they've all found ways to be successful in their own way.
Somewhat. I mean, it's good that they've found ways to like not die, but at the same time, that means there's no competition anymore. No one's pushing each other to do any your only reason to do anything now is to make your own money.
Yeah.
Which is probably enough for the most part, but that's also how you get Sony's 12 game as a service games that spectacularly failed. Microsoft, to Microsoft's credit, they never really went down that rabbit hole. We didn't get any real games as a service nonsense out of them, but we got other nonsense out of them. So we'll see how that goes. Like there could be some level of stagnation going forward, but I think the one bright spot there is that the game as a service debacle with Sony did kind of show that the players won't really flock to that nonsense.
Yeah.
So maybe the pressure of just having to keep the audience happy is enough.
The funny thing is, I don't know if
because
Sony...
people will not spend their money on bullshit.
Yeah.
They will. A lot of the popular stuff now is bullshit, but it's bullshit that the audience has chosen and decided they like, not bullshit that the audience has been told to like.
Right,
which I think is the main difference.
The irony is, I don't know that PlayStation actually gave games as a service a fair chance. I mean, it invested a ton of money and wasted a ton of money on it, but if you really look at it, they had one game that was a huge success. They put out another one that admittedly they never marketed.
They canceled several before
everyone saw them.
I think Concord scared them so much that they indeed did make what I would probably consider a strategic error in backing away from it. So I mean, they might have had another Helldivers 2 in there. Right. We don't know.
Yeah.
And we'll never know apparently because they're so afraid of it.
It got so scared off by this one mistake that it made.
Yeah. I'm not arguing because I would rather have their boutique single player high quality productions.
Me too, yeah.
But as a business, it feels like you got real spooked by one thing that was a very singular event.
Right.
I don't think there's any evidence that their other projects in that vein would have been received the same way Concord was. Concord was a very peculiar mix of things nobody wanted.
Yeah.
And I can't even fully describe it because you remember when they showed that first trailer and 30 seconds in, I'm like, I don't want to look at this anymore.
Yeah.
And I never say things like that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Concord repulsed me in a way
it really did.
That
from the get-go.
I could not fully describe. I don't exactly know why, but I was like, this sucks and I never want to see it again.
Yeah.
And apparently I was not alone. But I'm usually able to articulate things like that pretty well, and I can't really tell you why I hated Concord on sight the way I did.
You did, right from the
I
beginning.
don't really know what happened there. But I do know it probably doesn't apply to every other thing Sony had in the pipeline. So their choice to do that may have proven a waste or a lost potential or a lost revenue. But, like, we'll never know. So what are you going to do? What it's going to result in is, like, another probably year or two of drought. In their release schedule because everybody's got to pivot and start a new project.
Here's the irony of the whole thing is, like, I think all of this has worked out in a way that it is actually best for the consumer, because I feel like you're in a place now where you don't necessarily need to buy 2 consoles anymore.
Yeah, you're probably saving on a console, and also you've got 3 heavy hitters making their own stuff and with all very different philosophies on it. And you're going to be able to get them pretty effectively on that one console. I mean, not Nintendo, but like
if you have a PlayStation or a PC and a Switch, you're good.
Pretty good. And, like, let's be honest, like, there's not a lot of redundancy between the in-house production of Sony and the in-house production of Microsoft. Like, Sony's not bringing out anything on the level of Avowed or Outer Worlds 2 or like they do very different things with the companies they own in-house. So, like, it's not even like they're competing with each other. And I wonder how much of that was sort of like part of the discussions behind closed doors of, like, hey, you don't have an Elder Scrolls. You don't have an Avowed. You don't have a Fable. Like, so you don't even really have a Forza Horizon. Like, what are you competing with here?
Yeah.
Nothing. This isn't Gran Turismo's audience.
I mean, this is great news for PlayStation owners, by the way. If you're a PlayStation owner...
PlayStation hasn't had a really good arcade racing game in a decade?
If you're a PlayStation owner, you should be hyped, man. If you have not had a chance to play this franchise all this time because you've only been a PlayStation owner...
If all you've ever known is The Crew...
Right.
Like, oh boy, are you in for a good time.
Yeah, man. Like, get ready. Get ready to buy this game, by the way, when it comes out. You won't need another arcade racer. You seriously won't.
Yeah,
probably for the rest of the PS5
slot cycle. Not until Forza Horizon 6 comes out.
Yeah, and I do wonder, too, if, like, they're going to do cross-platform with this game so that it could reinvigorate the Xbox crowd to get back in again and start playing it again. Like me, I mean, I played it on Xbox. Am I going to start over again on PlayStation? Probably not. But if I know suddenly that ecosystem is flooded with players again, sure, I probably will jump back in and, be the king for a day or two because I have everything unlocked until everybody catches up with me. But otherwise, like, this is all good news. Like, it's weird to hear Forza coming out for PlayStation 5, but I think it's great news across the board for pretty much everybody. Like, because they're not competing with each other, they want to work with each other now. I think that's just great for everybody. Like, somehow we've settled in this place where, per Kotaku, nobody won, but everybody won. I feel like everyone won. Like, Xbox is going to be able to survive with its model with Game Pass. PlayStation with its we make the best single-player games on the planet strategy is going to survive and thrive. And then there's Nintendo, who has a whole kind of market to itself, basically, and it's going to thrive. So ultimately, things all kind of worked out good. It's kind of crazy, really, when it all shook out. That I think it worked out pretty well for everybody.
Yeah, everyone except Google Stadia.
Yeah, and actually, there is one other question that is kind of another part of this topic. Is we found out this week that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is a great game, your Game of the Year runner-up, if I remember correctly, was only played by 4 million people.
I mean, that's not crazy.
I mean, so you have... I mean, I'm guessing now there's 35 million Game Pass subscribers.
Yeah.
So you only penetrated, what is that, 10%, 15% of your Game Pass subscribers with that game?
That's about what Super Mario Galaxy sold attach rate on the Wii.
Yeah. I mean, it eventually sold a bunch more.
I'll tell you this much. A bunch of people I know, even who had access to it on like a mediocre PC or whatever, are waiting for the PlayStation version. And the other thing to note is I also know a fair number of people who did not play this because it's first person. Like,
yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Most of the casual gamers I know who will play like big event games do not want to play first person. Like, the fact that you cannot see Indiana Jones in this was like, people I know who are huge Indiana Jones fans who I know would love this game. They're like, no, not if it's first person.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
That's
I mean, you want to see Indiana Jones.
I don't think that's keeping 4 million other people away from the game, but it is an issue. And I don't think a lot of people don't really know. Like, I didn't see a lot of advertising.
I saw some, but not a lot. You're right.
I would hope they would blitz the advertising for this when they put it on PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to find your biggest audience, I think. Especially because we know PlayStation audience overall has no problem with first person.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
although most of its big first party games are third person.
They are, but I feel like COD players could find something to like in this.
Mm-hmm.
Is enough. Yeah, it's not terrible.
I was really surprised.
Also, don't forget that like Indiana Jones is not really much of an IP right now.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Like there hasn't been a really great Indiana Jones movie since 1989.
Yeah.
And most of the people that love Indiana Jones are our age.
No, it's true.
And you got some kids that like grew up and people our
with
age.
parents like us.
Yeah, parents our age who showed them the movies,
Right.
and then like, but like this is not Star Wars. This is not Harry Potter. This is not Lord of the Rings. This is kind of a niche property.
Well, Lord of the Rings season 2 on Amazon didn't do very well either, so I don't know if the kids like that either.
Well, I don't know if the kids are watching that because it's very talky.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's not the Rings of Power is prestige,
narrative
prestige television in all the ways you don't want to talk about prestige television. I don't have a problem with Rings of Power. I think the second season is actually a little better than the first season.
I just saw the numbers were down,
but they're committed to making at least 2 more. Probably 3 more.
Yeah.
So, Jeff Bezos wants to see this show, apparently. And there's a lot. I mean, that whole world has gone a little topsy-turvy. Like 2 days ago, I think the Duffer Brothers said that season 5 of Stranger Things might not even be out this year.
Really?
It might take them until next year to finish it because they're making 8 movies.
Yeah, I know.
It's ridiculous.
It really is.
It's
yeah.
like...
And they'll still split it up, 4 episodes and 4 episodes.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, you forget how long ago season 4 came out.
Right. They're like adults now.
When season 5 comes out, the guy who plays Steve is going to literally be double the age of the character. That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And
yeah.
Just ridiculous. And I also, so this week I got a horror board game and it has Running Up That Hill references in it. So just to point out, in the time... So season 4 of Stranger Things came out. This board game, crowdfunded, was developed, was mass-produced, and was distributed with references to Running Up That Hill in it from Stranger Things season 4, and it still beat season 5 out by a year. There's no reason for this. There's no reason it should take 11 years to tell this story, which really isn't much of a story. It's really just like the characters are why people tune into. It's like Lost.
Yeah.
Lost is my best comparison to that because no matter how stupid the overall story of Lost got, you tuned in to see the characters you cared about.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what? At least Lost managed to get a season out every fucking year.
Yeah, it's true. They
were shooting in Hawaii. No one wants to do any work in Hawaii. You know that.
That is pretty amazing, actually, that they got that a season
that was,
of that show.
I mean, that was a hard job they did to get that show done on time.
It's pretty amazing that they did that.
And it is. It absolutely is.
So here's the question, Matt. Per the lower third for this topic, at this point, do you consider Xbox...
The upper third.
Yeah, the upper third. Do you consider Xbox a third-party publisher at this point?
Sorta.
Because here's the thing. It feels like, they announced that they were going to release Indiana Jones for PlayStation way before it came out.
Yeah.
And people were like, whoa, that's weird. Like, won't that help Game Pass? That seems crazy. Microsoft was right. Like, it's people aren't buying the games on Xbox, and they knew better than anybody how many people were going to play it on Game Pass. And they're going to make most of their money off that game from selling it on PlayStation 5.
And they were also kind of building some goodwill because, like I said, a lot of people I know do not have Xboxes and don't have PCs capable of playing that game.
Yeah.
We're like, I'm going to wait for... Again, I know it's coming to PlayStation, so I can't wait to... So some people argue that that's preventing them from buying Xboxes. But I think Microsoft knew that most people were not going to buy an Xbox for that game. And this way they made it so they weren't mad about it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, it's coming in like 3 months, so I don't have to really worry about it. I wish I could play it now, but I can wait. And like, it was all kind of fine.
Yeah.
So when that game comes out on PlayStation, you don't have a bunch of people being all resentful about, well, you didn't give it to me on the same day as the other one, so I'm not going to play your game. It was like
Xbox fans, it's like, you had your chance, and a lot of you didn't want to play it. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I mean, out of 35 million subscribers, only 4 million played a game that, what is this, Metacritic, 9 or something like that?
I don't remember.
Roughly, I think.
It's up there.
It's around there. That's crazy to me.
Most of those subscribers don't even know what Metacritic is.
Yeah, I get that. But I'm saying, like, it reviewed very well. Word on the street about that game was extremely positive. Still only 4 million people played it on Game Pass. So that to me is like, okay, what you're doing, Microsoft, you're doing it the right way. If you're making enough money on Game Pass to have a fruitful business, and then you can sell it on PlayStation and just add into your coffers, that's a great strategy. A brilliant strategy I never would have seen 5 years ago, but a great strategy. So kudos to everybody. Everyone's doing great. It's really awesome to see. Like, I love to see this. And I also like that, people don't have to buy 2 and 3 consoles now to play all the great games. Like, if you're willing to wait a month or two, you get to play all the Xbox exclusives on your PlayStation if you want to. Like,
it's very hard to, if you have a PC and a PlayStation, it's very hard to understand why you would need an Xbox now.
yeah. I mean, or if you have a PC and a Switch, let's be honest. Because all PlayStation's first-party games are coming to PC in a much shorter time frame now. You're getting...
Well,
I mean Spider-Man was only a year. Spider-Man 2.
A year is a long time, and Spider-Man 2's PC version sucks.
We're going to get to that. Well, we're going to talk about that.
My problem, if Sony ever gets their act together on the quality of these ports the day they come out, then maybe.
Yeah.
But
no, you're right. There's work that needs to be done. You're right. For sure.
Certainly they are not at the same place Microsoft is where it comes to getting that content later on the same platform, because now I got to wait for patches to fix this fucking thing.
Yeah. But I think overall...
I'm a little irritated about that, you may notice.
I picked up on that.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, we've done this dance already, Sony.
Yeah, no, you're right. But ultimately, it feels like everything's worked out for everyone.
Yeah.
Let's go to chat and see what you guys say about this.
It beats Microsoft leaving the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Please don't review a game with the new Donk City song then. Yeah. Vincent says, for Western games, Japanese games are still protective of their tracks at times. Talking about music. Yeah.
Like, I would be if we did like a Metaphor Refantasio with music, I bet Atlas would come at you about that.
Yep. Not Cirque. Thank you for Twitch Prime, brother. Hope you're doing good. Haven't seen you around the site for a while. Hope you're doing okay. Retro Modern Gamer, did you see a rumor about a Steam console will be coming to compete with Sony and Microsoft? I mean, we did this already. The Steam, I have B-roll on the TriCaster from like 5 years ago of Steam machines. Literally like an hour of B-roll of Steam machines. And they're all gone
tried
now.
it and it didn't.
In fact, I saw a video on YouTube the other day where a guy went and bought a Steam machine from like 2018 or something for like $20 and then put it through its paces or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the Steam machine thing came and it went. So he also says, speaking of disruption, did you see a rumor about a Steam console? Same thing. Gotcha.
Thing.
Mitchell Ness, it's like Sony doesn't know how to do a medium budget for a game. They got lucky with signing Arrowhead. Maybe. ETH Demon, and it seems like they don't have the single-player games till the start of the PS6. That's true. Like Matt said,
possible.
There's going to be a whole, like a blind zone here for PlayStation 5. But the good news is, as we mentioned last week, it kind of has every third-party exclusive. I mean, let's be honest. So it's going to get by the rest of this cycle on third-party games. That's just the truth of the matter. And, you know, while it has its fingers crossed, it's stuff like Fair Games ends up doing okay. At least they haven't canceled that yet, because Jade Raymond, you know, she's probably the reason why it isn't canceled yet, would be my guess. Otherwise, it probably would also have met the same fate.
And it still might. Let's not...
Yeah. Speaking of disruption, did you see the rumor today? Oh, he keeps posting that. Erebus Jones, you could invest in an Xbox, and by the end of year 2, the money you save buying these games on PlayStation or PC will more than cover the console cost. You can, but everything's an Xbox now, Erebus. Remember? You forget about the trailer. Everything's an Xbox.
Yeah, I gotta say, a couple weeks ago, I turned on the Xbox to do I can't remember what I was looking at. But the point is, I loaded it up, and I went to look at the store, and I was like, why is everything in New Zealand dollars? And I finally realized I had switched it to New Zealand region so I could play Star Wars Outlaws early the day we did that show when it went live early there because of the time zones.
Yeah.
So I would have played a couple hours of it before we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I had not turned the Xbox on again since August 29th.
Wow.
When that game came out.
You know, you're PC, man. You have no reason.
100%.
There's no reason for you to have an Xbox.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like that's what I'm saying is like,
yeah.
I'm saying definitely the PC is more expensive than the Xbox, but the Xbox is a lot more redundant with the PlayStation now.
Yep. Big Smoke 82 says,
and the PlayStation is very expensive too.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're buying a Pro.
You're right. Yep. Big Smoke 82 says Microsoft should expose PlayStation fans to all of their franchises. Then, when next gen rolls around, they can make them all exclusive again, giving PlayStation's fans pause. No, they're never going to do that, man. That's not going to happen. You can't. That's like trying to turn the Titanic. Like you can't.
You can't bait and switch like that and expect goodwill to maintain. Also, like, I really don't know. You don't know until the rubber meets the road of pulling that rug whether the people who played your franchises on the new console actually liked it well enough to follow you down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, you also have to remember...
It's better just get their money from wherever you can get it.
Yep, absolutely. 35 million people times $20 a month. Think about how much money they're making just a month from Game Pass, just from subscriptions. So yeah, it's too big to turn around at this point. Like, they made their bed and now they got to lie in it. The good news is, it seems like that bed's pretty comfy right now.
The bed's made of money.
It is.
It's like those guys laying on the pile of money in Breaking Bad. That's what it is.
Seriously. Mitchell Ness, do you think Microsoft can retroactively license Xbox games as Play Anywhere? First-party games? Yeah,
They can
it
do whatever
should.
they want.
Yeah, third-party, they can't do anything about it. That has to be with the partners. So, yeah, definitely not for third parties. Slagathor says, what's sad is that they are capable of making good hardware. They just make some boneheaded choices. Yeah, I mean, I've never had an Xbox console where I thought the console was a piece of crap. Even 360 with the red ring, like, I don't know.
I kind of thought the X-Bone was a piece of crap.
The Xbox One?
Yeah.
Really?
The original? Yeah, it was slow and
I had
clunky
it.
And
that's all I had. I never did upgrade to Xbox One X.
The X was a much better piece
Oh,
of
yeah,
piece
for
of
sure.
hardware.
But you're right. It was underpowered, the Xbox One. It was absolutely, compared
So
to the
slow.
competition. And slow and clunky.
To be, I mean, like...
You put a disc in, it'd be like, cha-chunk, cha-chunk,
Well,
cha-chunk.
and like the Kinect integration was really dumb and like it's telling that my main memory of the original Xbox One is the first weekend it came out, and my friend Lawrence had it. It's all hooked up. The cable was hooked up through it, the whole thing, and we were watching football because he was a huge Broncos fan, and the Broncos game was on, and someone in the room said something that I guess the Kinect heard as Xbox, and it rewinded the game like 10 seconds, and then we couldn't get it to go back to normal. It was like a fourth down thing was happening.
Yeah.
And Lawrence was like, stop! He's like yelling at the Kinect, like, show me the football game. And the Xbox is like, I don't know what your football game is. It was just...
I really loved on Xbox One, though, how you could like watch TV and then put a windowed game in the corner, or vice versa.
Yeah, he was doing that, and then someone said the wrong word, and it
off it
all
went.
went to hell.
That's hilarious. Vincent says, isn't that Sony's plan, though? Put God of War on PC right before Ragnarok comes out on PlayStation. I guess. I mean, they put it out on PC, but they didn't have a new God of War coming out. They just put out Ragnarok on PC not long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Swan Senpai says, the UI is pure dog crap. I hate it. Yeah.
It's not great.
Ian Esquire says, what I'm really liking about this new format is you having time to check in with chat after the discussion with Matt and yourself. This already feels more interactive. I mean, this show has always been interactive. We have always made you guys a huge part of our show. I say it all the time. I mean it. You guys make the show better. I don't have any more times I got to say it. I believe it in my heart and soul. You guys make our show better. You correct us on stuff we get wrong on the fly. You add context. You guys know your S. And that's why you're, I think, the best audience on the entire internet. So he says the original God of War did come out on PC right before Ragnarok. Okay. But then I guess because they didn't have a new God of War, Ragnarok came out on PC, they couldn't do
Yeah, they
anything.
couldn't really keep...
There's nothing they could do. They wanted to get it out in a somewhat timely manner anyway.
That one came out in pretty solid shape.
It did.
as I recall.
There's been a couple that came out okay,
Couple
but
of them.
yeah.
Horizon was not great. Spider-Man 2 is. I mean, the first Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales are fine.
Yeah, which is so bizarre.
I don't know. There's no way to know until the day of. That's the frustrating thing about it. Which maybe is why they weren't allowing pre-orders for Spider-Man 2.
Maybe.
You couldn't buy it until it came out on Steam.
Age of the Legend asks, who am I rooting for on Sunday in the Super Bowl? Really, you need to ask that? It's the Eagles, 1,000%. Nobody wants to see the Chiefs win 3 Super Bowls in a row. Nobody, except for I think Mitchell Ness is a Chiefs fan. And if you're a fan, you've been a fan all along, totally cool. I get it. I think most people in the United States do not want to see the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. Not Sir does. Mitchell Ness, I do. Oh, I mentioned you, Mitchell Ness. Love Mahomes, not Sir. He's great. I hate him. I hate that the league gives him every call. He's like Tom Brady, too. It's really annoying.
There were a couple. I mean, I don't follow football at all, but I've seen some clips from Chiefs games from the playoffs and stuff, and like,
Oh, it's insane.
What?
Oh, it's insane, Matt.
like even
it's disgusting.
Even
what's
I'm
happening.
just like that ball was on the ground.
Well, he knows
on the ground.
Well, it's not even just that. They get all the calls, but Mahomes really gets the calls,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't do anything about it. If you're Mahomes, you're like, well, they're going to give me the calls. But now he has started to take advantage of it. He knows they're making calls. So there was a play where he was going to run out of bounds. He stopped before he ran out of bounds, so the players would run into him and he could draw a penalty. Like that's when I was like, F you, F the Chiefs, go Eagles.
And I think a lot of people feel that way.
So how do you normally feel about the Eagles as a Steelers
I root for
fan?
them. Yeah, I mean,
how do Steelers and Eagles fans feel about each other?
they were the same team for a while. I think in World War I or World War II, they had to come together because there weren't enough people to be in the league,
Right.
and they were called the Steagles. Seriously, for like 2 years or whatever.
I guess it's better than the Eaglers.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of root for each other. At least the Eagles fans I know, they're like, if the Eagles can't win the Super Bowl, I'll root for the Steelers, and it's vice versa for me. Like,
because that's interesting as someone from California, where the Dodgers and the Giants hate each other so
right?
much.
Yeah, it's not like that with Eagles and Steelers. I think part of it is the Steagles history or whatever, but
Yeah. It's probably. I mean, part of the reason the Dodgers. I mean, L.A. and San Francisco have a rivalry. Part of it's because the Dodgers from New York. Mm-hmm. So
Right.
there are people in San Francisco that still consider the L.A. Dodgers to be trespassers in California.
another thing that matters too is both the Dodgers and the Giants are in the National League.
Yeah.
So the
So
Eagles
they're competing with each other for the playoffs.
to get to the World Series. The Eagles and the Steelers are in the NFC and the AFC. So best case scenario for me is every year Steelers versus Eagles in the Super Bowl.
A Pennsylvania Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
It has never happened. It may never happen.
That
but-
feels like the advertisers would not be thrilled about that.
I mean, Pittsburgh's a small market, but Philly's a big market.
So what happens if that happens and you've just got a stadium full of Pennsylvanians? Did they just all kill each other on the way out? Or
Maybe. Because Steelers fans are pretty
Yeah.
crazy too. Yeah.
like the record number of stolen hats at the end of the game?
It could happen. So anyway, I'm rooting for the Eagles. Who do I think is going to win, though? If I had to put money on it, the Chiefs. I think they'll get every call, and they'll probably win again. But I'm rooting for the Eagles. So anyway, there you go. So wait, did you say that you do feel like Microsoft or Xbox is a third-party publisher now?
I mean, I guess.
I do.
I don't know what else you'd call them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sort of their own thing.
They're putting out games on every platform at this point.
I mean, they're Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
And which has always been a
Yeah.
third-party publisher, really.
Because I mean, it's not a real difference in philosophy. They were the biggest supporter of Apple in terms of putting games on Apple and Mac computers back in the 90s when no one was doing
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Because Bill Gates and by extension Steve Ballmer knew that Apple was their best defense against the monopoly. A monopoly charge. Like Microsoft was one of the biggest in the dark years. For those of you who aren't old enough to remember, when Apple was barely hanging on from like 1988 to like 1999, one of the main reasons Apple didn't go under was because Microsoft supported them and put all their Office stuff on Mac OS and all their
forgot
games.
about that, actually,
the Age of
yeah.
Empires games are on there. Like
Yeah.
Microsoft was very closely partnered with Apple because they knew that if Apple fell, Windows would be brought up on monopoly charges. And
Yeah.
as long as they could point to Apple and say, no, we have competition
scapegoat.
from Apple.
Yeah.
And Steve Jobs knew that, leveraged them really hard, and managed to make those candy-colored iMacs, in part on the back of Microsoft support, like it brought Apple back from the brink.
Hilarious.
And so Microsoft is not averse to supporting the competition when they know there's an advantage to them.
Right, yeah.
And so this is just another extension.
That's what's
of that.
happening here. Absolutely. Yep. So anyway, there you go. Xbox third-party publisher in the gaming industry in 2025. It's pretty crazy. I know it's still crazy to just hear it, but that is the truth. Next up, we got our first look at the new Battlefield. Yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. The days are just all bleeding together for me. When you video edit for like 18 hours a day, everything just starts to bleed together. But they showed the first Battlefield footage. Battlefield, what do you think it's going to be called, Matt? You think it's going to be called Battlefield 6, or do you think they're going to give it some sexy, goofy name? Or
They'll call it "Please Buy This Game."
because that's where they're at with Battlefield.
Yeah.
So they only released 10 seconds of the new Battlefield. You're seeing it right here. It reminds me of Battlefield 3, honestly, because it was all about destruction. Remember the one trailer had the big building falling down on you?
Yeah.
I'm getting the similar vibes from this, but I mean, this limited amount of footage.
Because it kind of started with Bad Company, but this doesn't have enough personality to be Bad Company. So
Yeah.
yeah, Battlefield 3 is probably has the sterility required to match this. This looks like a game.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks nice, like technologically.
Also, I should have issued an epilepsy warning before I started running this
But
B-roll.
but also, I watched this, and having played Battlefield enough, I'm sort of like, so how long did it take you to get there?
Before you got shot.
Yeah. How far did you run to get to that building you blew up?
Yep, that's my Battlefield experience. Run half a mile, get shot in the head. Run half a mile, get shot in the head. Oh, there's a vehicle. Get in the vehicle. Stay alive for 10 minutes. Die.
That's again why the Gold Rush thing in the Bad Company games was the best, because you were already right at the action. You had the large battlefield, but you progressed through it kind of linearly, so you were always still there in the action when, as opposed to this big map where you're like, oh, I'm over here, I guess I better run this way. And you get run over by your own guy in a Jeep and you have to start over again.
I mean, it looks pretty damn good. I mean, it's hard to see in these shots because they don't last very long, but
Battlefields always look pretty good. Like, the problem is, like, what's it going to do at launch? Is it going to connect properly? Is anyone going to be able to get into a game? Is it going to be stable enough? Is the skybox going to turn green every other fucking step? Like, none of this is the stuff people were concerned about or had a problem with Battlefield. Like, it's like, you always looked good in trailers. Like, you got to launch a stable product that people want to play.
Then eventually the rubber hits the road, like this B-roll from Battlefield 2042, where the skybox flickers on and off, and like there are more bugs than you can shake a stick at. I mean, to Matt's point, they can put out as many awesome trailers and 10-second game footage snippets as they want, but this franchise has to re-earn my trust, Matt, which I never thought I would ever say about Battlefield. But it has lost my trust. I mean, I don't feel like there's been a truly great...
Betrayed 1320.
Yeah. I mean, what's the last truly great Battlefield?
Bad Company 2.
Yeah, I think it is. And what year was that? 2008 maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, this franchise couldn't do no wrong, and now it does a lot of wrong.
Like Battlefield 2 is one of your favorite games of all time.
Of all time,
right? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Battlefield 1942 is one of my... Honestly, the Wake Island demo is one of my favorite games of all time, if we really want to be specific. But, I played that forever. Yeah. Forever. Like, that was some of the best stuff.
I mean, that's the thing about Battlefield, is if it's good, you can play it forever.
You just keep going.
You can literally play it for freaking ever. They just can't seem to get over the hump. Now, here's the thing. They're making some big changes. So there are 4 different studios working on the new Battlefield. A studio called Ripple Effect. Have you heard of them?
No.
I haven't either. I had never heard of them. But there's one called Ripple Effect, Criterion, Motive, and DICE are all working on this. Criterion issued a statement yesterday saying that, hey, Need for Speed isn't going away for good. We're still eventually going to make another one, although that's also a franchise that's teetering on the brink of irrelevance at this point. Because there's been a good Need for Speed for a while.
You can't say they didn't give Need for Speed a chance.
They did. Yeah, they absolutely did.
There's no other IP in EA's catalog that has gotten more random second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances than Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Where's my fucking Burnout 3 remaster?
But, my guess is Criterion's working on all the vehicle stuff for Battlefield. So, I think they have the right team, but can they piece it all together?
But they've done that before.
Have they? 4 studios?
Not 4, but they've had, they brought in the experts on each type of gameplay to combine them all into the best possible stew, and it still hasn't necessarily worked. Like, there's nothing particularly compelling about this.
Maybe most importantly, though, Vince Ampella is now the master on this
That's really
stuff.
the X factor that,
could actually make a
makes
difference.
Me not dismiss it automatically.
Yeah.
Is that Vince is involved, and Vince wouldn't put up with any of the bullshit that, this last one had.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely wouldn't have released it in the state that it was in. That's for sure. Tell you that much.
You don't win an argument with Vince if he knows you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would have turned out very differently if he'd been on that project. Also, I don't think it would have ever been in that state if he was on that project. I've never known any of Respawn's or even Infinity Ward before him. Jumping and sinking waist deep in the concrete was nice. I enjoy that.
That's hilarious. Right on cue. Vincent says Ripple Effect made the Portal mode in 2042. Okay. Which was one of the few things that people actually did like from 2042. So maybe there is some value in them working on it. Fried X100 asks, any credence to Frostbite being EA's long, slow downfall? I mean, yeah, we've been talking about Frostbite on this show for 10 years
I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Frostbite hater. Everybody knows that.
We are equal opportunity Frostbite haters here on GameFace.
I've had EA people that I've run into being like, you could probably ease up on Frostbite. It's not that bad. I'm like, is it not that bad because you made it not that bad? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay.
Retro Modern Gamer says
every time some poor developer has to force Frostbite to make it to do something that it should have been able to do out of the box, everyone can make it do that now because the tool exists. But the amount of work that just random developers have had to do to make it do basic shit is astounding. And like Amy, I love that Amy Hennig was so mad. I didn't love that she's mad about it, but I thought it was funny, or at least enlightening, that she's like, we worked for like 2 years on that Star Wars game to make it do all these things it couldn't do, like having a character climb over a wall, and we never got to make our game, but now everybody who makes a Frostbite game can like climb over a wall because we did that. Yeah. And it's like, that must be very frustrating.
Yeah. Well, EA paid probably about $200 million for that feature.
Yeah. Good job, everybody. The other thing I can't help but continually notice is that, like, at some point, and I know Call of Duty did this and it didn't well, I don't think Call of Duty is really in the same boat here. One of the ways you could differentiate your Battlefield from something is go back to World War II.
Yeah.
There is a simplicity to that where you kind of understand what beats what in World War II that is kind of alluring. It's one of the reasons there were no surprises left in Wake Island by the 400th match I played, but it was still fun to load up the fucking Jeep with C4 and, ram it into something and bail out. Like that was like, I feel like a lot of the appeal of Battlefield was sort of the wackiness to some degree, and they've tried to make it into like sort of Call of Duty with a larger map in a way that has undermined it as a brand. And maybe that's just not, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not how you get mass appeal anymore. But one of the fun things about the early Battlefields was just the sheer craziness of what could possibly, you never knew when you hit contact with the other team, you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. And usually it was something crazy. Yeah.
And
very
now,
unpredictable.
like, and even the advertising on these things, I mean, you're just like, okay, that looks like a very standard war movie kind of thing. Like, they don't lean into that idea. They don't lean into even, the most memorable thing even in this footage is the guy, landing halfway up his waist in concrete and then running. I mean, that's not a good thing, but it's like, it needs a little more of that, like, that wouldn't happen in real life. That tank wouldn't fly over here and land on this thing, knock a building over, and kill like the rest of the squad you were fighting. But it sure is fun.
It is. I mean, sometimes realism is to the detriment of games. I
don't know. Maybe make it so the flying vehicles don't require a fucking pilot's program
Seriously,
to fly.
Man.
Like,
that to me is the biggest change they need to make. Make the vehicles easier to pilot. The flying vehicles in particular. Like the ground vehicles are okay.
Ground vehicles are fine, but like especially the helicopters. It's
Forget
just like,
it. Or the jets even.
It's not even because I want to fly the helicopters. It's because I got tired of being in these games and watching some rando get in a helicopter, and you see a helicopter come up and just sort of wiggle back and forth and fall over to the ground, and now you don't have a fucking helicopter backing you up. And if the other team does have someone competent on the helicopter, you're dead. Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe everyone should get a chance to, because you can't prevent morons from taking the good vehicles, maybe just make the good vehicles moron-proof.
I think that's probably the right strategy. Retro Modern Gamer says, that's why you have to join a squad to spawn into combat where your squad is at. Yeah, so you spawn next to 4 dudes running a mile before they get shot in the head. Or you spawn with your squad and only one guy gets to fly the chopper and you just have to sit there for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah. Or the one guy who's alive in your squad is on the other side of the map from where anything is happening, and you're like, "What are you doing there?
Yeah, you spawn on him, and you're like, "Dude, what are we doing?
Why are we over here?"
and
he's like, "Plane." You're like, like he's waiting for a one-person fighter that no one else is going. So now, okay, I'll get on a motorcycle and hope I make it.
Yeah. Yep. What else you got? Vincent says that in EA's financials that they announced that it's coming out this fiscal, so before the end of April 2026. So there's a chance it could come out Q4. I would be really surprised, but
feels like I mean, you probably want it in Q4. I don't know if you'll be ready for it. But
who knows? Big Smoke 82 says they just need to make it like Battlefield 3 with modern tech. But Battlefield 3's multiplayer was good. Its campaign was a friggin' joke. It was literally one of the worst campaigns I've ever played.
They should stop trying to do campaigns.
Seriously.
Like, it's
give it up.
They've never.
You haven't been able to do it ever.
The closest they got to a good campaign was probably Battlefront 2.
The War Stories?
No, Battlefront.
Oh, Battlefront 2. Oh, yeah.
The Star Wars campaign with the Imperial
that was
pilot
pretty good,
effects.
actually.
Like, that was all right.
Yeah. And DICE developed that, right?
DICE did that. I don't think they did the campaign story. I think it was somebody else that did the campaign building on their framework. But yeah, every time DICE has tried to do a campaign, it just hasn't. I still have like horrible flashback memories just thinking about that stupid F-18 mission in Battlefield 3.
Right.
Where it was literally a rails shooter that you couldn't skip. It was just like, and like if you missed one thing, you had to go back and like the secret objectives or whatever it was, and I was like, oh my god, like, and you just like the takeoff took like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And you couldn't skip it. Yeah. What are you doing?
The other thing I should mention too is that before we move on, is that EA is launching this thing called Battlefield Labs, and basically it's just like, if you like Battlefield, go sign up, and you're going to be able to test the game. That's just a fancy name for, hey, let's get a bunch of fans to play our game before we put it out and hopefully listen to their feedback. So you can sign up right now for Battlefield Labs. Just go to EA's website or the Battlefield website. You can sign up and get in on their player testing, and they're going to break out the betas to very specific things, like this is a vehicle beta, this is our assault rifle beta, this is our heavy weapons beta, that type of stuff. So if you're really into Battlefield and you want to shape the future of it. This is our sinking into concrete beta. So anyway, if you're really interested in it, you can figure it out. Just go to Google and just search for Battlefield Labs, and it'll show you where to go to sign up. Or you can just use SIFTD. The article that we've curated about it on SIFTD has a link there where you can go and sign up as well. So it does sound like they're trying to do everything the right way, Matt. Yeah. But it could all still result in doom.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters.
It may not matter in the end at all. Because you do wonder, at a certain point, is Vince Zampella just stretched too thin? Like, how much can one person do? I've been testing the limits of that here over the last week. One person can do a lot if you really bust your ass. I'll just say that much. So anyway, that's the latest on Battlefield. Who knows what it's going to be called ultimately. The other thing we should have mentioned is it's set in modern day, so present day. It's not in the future. It's not in the past. So it's basically set in 2025. So it's going to have all the weapons that we know that are real now.
We'll see if the international conflict lines are the same by the time this comes out.
Oh, yeah. Who knows if seriously. Everything could be different. But anyway, there you go. Vincent says it may come out before April 2026. We'll see. There is a chance it could come out in 2025. But I do think we're going to get a deluge of marketing and promotion for this game ramping up here in the next couple months and probably lasting for 8 or 9 months until they finally get the game out. So we'll see. I'll say this. I am encouraged and excited to check it out. I've managed to open my mind to give it another opportunity. Maybe I'm just a sucker, but we'll see. I do have a lot of faith in Vince Zampella, maybe too much, to be honest. But he's pretty damn good. I mean, pretty much everything he's touched has turned out to be pretty awesome. So he's one of the guys in the industry that I have a lot of faith in. So we'll see. But that's the latest on Battlefield. I think it'll probably be called Battlefield 6. That would be my guess. I don't know. Maybe. Would it be? Yeah, it would be 6. Yeah, because they didn't number 2042. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it would be. Yeah, it would be Battlefield 6, I think. Yeah, unless. I mean, what are they gonna name it? 2025?
Yeah, I don't think you could call it Battlefield something that represents whatever their big gameplay thrust is. Something about, I don't know, Battlefield collapsing building or something. I don't know.
Something goofy like that. It could be. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest on Battlefield. We're about to talk about 420.
Battlefield demolition.
We're about to talk about episode 420 and 420. But before that, here's a word from our sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. That's right, people. Valentine's Day is coming up. It is, I would argue, the best holiday of the entire year for LS Cream. I mentioned this last week, but LS Cream is not one of those liquors where people take a sip and they're like, oh. It's a great liquor for people who do not drink all that often. Now, to be fair, if you are a veteran of alcoholic drinks, it mixes great with pretty much everything. And you can make very stiff drinks with LS Cream that taste delicious. But You can literally just mix it with like some coffee or some chocolate milk or anything like that, and it is absolutely delicious. If you want to grease the wheels for your Valentine's Day date, I think Ellis Cream is the perfect thing to use. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. Use that URL. You can find bottles online so they can ship them to your doorstep, or there's a store locator there where you can find stores nearby where you can go and pick up your own bottles. So if you do get a date last minute, you can swing by your local store and pick it up on the way to pick her or him up and have the time of your life. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. Get yourself a bottle. I promise you, you will not regret it. All right. It's time to talk about 420. This is episode 420 of GameFace, and it'll be the only 420 we ever have. We'll never have a 422 here on GameFace. And I do remember...
Well, we will have a 422.
420, right.
2 weeks from now.
422. So I went to college. I'm sure a lot of you people did. And if you did go to college, then my guess is probably you smoked some weed here or there when you were in college. I did the same thing. When I went to Temple University, we used to have this thing called $5 Fridays. So everybody would come over to our apartment, everybody would throw $5 down on the table, and everybody would get a 40 for $2.50, and then the other $2.50 from your $5 would go into a pool to buy weed. And in Philadelphia, you can buy weed anywhere. You could literally walk into a convenience store and buy weed over the counter. This was in the 90s. You could literally just walk into a store and just buy weed. And so everybody would put their $5 down. That would get you a 40, and it would get like a dime bag or whatever the hell they called it of weed. Somebody would go to the convenience store, get the weed. The rest of us would run to the liquor store and get the 40s, and we'd come back and we'd play video games all night, drinking 40s and smoking weed. And it was amazing. It's some of the best memories I have of college. Now,
memories.
I think what I remember of my memories. Now, I think the danger is that you would meet people in college who did that every night.
Right.
It was a thing for us. It was a Friday night thing that we only did on Friday nights, and it was awesome. Everybody would get together at my apartment. There'd be 15 or 20 of us all would roll in there, and we just sit and we just play like NHL 94 all night, or we play Castlevania or whatever. And it was amazing. Some of the best memories I have. I still have people that will just randomly contact me on Facebook like 30 years later.
Can you still get $5 weed?
No, you cannot. That's hilarious. But if they're like, do you remember that? And they're like, you were the god of NHL 90. Nobody could beat me. Literally nobody could beat me. And there were good players. Like, we did it every Friday, so people got really good. Nobody could beat me at NHL 94. Like, nobody. And so we had these amazing sessions, and people still remember them and still contact me about them to this day on Facebook, which is crazy. So that's my experience with games and weed for the most part. It was from that era, and then a little bit into like the Nintendo 64 era. But I did it long enough that you start to realize that certain games work better with weed than others. For example, there's some games that I would not want to play on weed. Anything that's extraordinarily detailed, I would not want to play on weed. Anything where you have to keep track of a bunch of stuff, terrible thing to play to use.
I have a friend who liked to be stoned most of the time, and usually he would play something pretty simple, but one time he tried to play Civilization 2, and it didn't work out for his Civilization very well. Let me put it that way.
I mean, the funny thing about it is that, I think marijuana in a lot of cases helps you be more creative. Like, some people use it to like ghost write. Like, a lot of rappers say that they use it to ghost write lyrics for their songs or whatever. And I do feel like it makes you look at things from a different way. And so I think there are certain genres that do work really well. But I think the lowest hanging fruit for weed games is just crazy like psychedelics. And that's definitely not it.
Driving games, I've heard, are good for that.
Driving games, interesting.
Yeah. People like drive, not like super competitive ones, but something like Outrun, or like arcade racing.
That's mindless. Yeah, something you have to think about too much. Super Mario 64 to me was one of the best games I ever played on weed. It literally blew my freaking mind. I think it was almost too much. Honestly, when I played it, smoking weed. The other thing you got to think about though too is that things have changed. So when I was in college, the weed wasn't like it is now, man, where it's just like crazy powerful and over potent. Like, the weed back then, it was just like dirt weed, basically. Like, it kind of get you high. You had to smoke like a lot of it. It's not like it is now. So anyone who's younger watching this is like, oh, You can do one. No, you can't. You could back then. You couldn't do one puff and feel anything. Like all the weed back then was pretty crappy. It's not like it is now where it's legal and people can spend as much time and energy on it as they want to. But I do remember playing Super Mario 64 after I smoked weed, and it literally blew my mind. I was like, "Are you freaking? I can't believe I'm doing this!" Like it just was like too much. It was like sensory overload. So to me, this is like an all-star of weed games right here, Super Mario 64. At least in my opinion. Cinetice asking about horror games. No, you don't want any bad vibes, man. Like, I didn't want any horror games on weed. I didn't want to play anything that was depressing or would bum me out. I wanted to play things that were mindless and fun. Or things that were crazy, psychedelic, and weird. Those were kind of like the other things that I really gravitated to. So, Super Mario 64 was a good choice. I thought Rayman was a great choice because it's just so weird and trippy and just bizarre. I mean, you play as a guy with, like, no limbs, but he still has hands and feet. It's just like... And all the levels were just built to be kind of crazy and psychedelic. And then kind of more on, like, the laid-back trip. Like, another game I think that's really good is Journey. Because it's very emotional, but in a good way, and not like in a negative or depressing or a dark way. It's kind of an uplifting game. And again, it's one of these things that you can just kind of like just sit back and let it wash over you. You don't have to be overly active. And in fact, I think you might enjoy this game more if you aren't being active and trying to complete stuff. If you just cruise around and discover things and check things out before you just kind of keep moving forward. Games like that are also great, I think, when you smoke weed. Games where you can just fiddle around in the world and try stuff, and if it doesn't work, no big deal, we'll try something else. Like, it just, I feel like it kind of changes your perspective on a lot of things, and you need games that do that as well. Now, my runner-up for best game to play on weed is Rez. Any music game is great. And there weren't many back then. Like, back then, there were, like, DDR.
Yeah, it pretty much began with Parappa.
That
was one that was a fan of one of my roommates. My roommate in freshman year of college, he smoked enough for both of us, basically. He liked to steal my Game Gear and play the Sonic games on it. He would wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "I'm gonna try Sonic Chaos again," and like just, and I'd be like, "Go back to sleep." He's like, "Okay."
Well, Rez is great.
Yeah, he loved Sonic. That was his stoned game of choice.
I could see that one too. That'd be a good one. But Rez is perfect. It's this crazy psychedelic landscape that you fly through. You play the game to the beat. It came out with this crazy like egg-shaped vibrator thing that you could put in your pocket or put in your hand or put somewhere else that would like vibrate to the music. There's no game like Rez. There just isn't. And honestly, it's a very close second for me behind Super Mario 64. It is.
I think Katamari would rank up there.
Katamari, another one on my list for the weird, like, easygoing, laid back. Also, funny games. There aren't enough funny games. And I think you realize that if you smoke weed and play games, that there aren't enough funny games. There just aren't. But if there were, I think that would be another great option for smoking weed and playing games. I think anything that's funny and has a comedic angle to it, I think is a good choice. But I think Rez is right up there, probably my second favorite. You start getting to some of the more funky stuff and the psychedelic stuff. Psychonauts is great for playing and smoking weed. It's just so avant-garde and bizarre.
Maybe not the dentist.
Yeah, there's parts of it that might be a little disturbing because it is a little dark at points. You're right. And the art style's a little weird as well. Yeah. But I think overall what you're doing and where you're going...
The first one is probably better because the second one gets, the second one starts with all the photorealistic teeth.
Right. Yeah. That is creepy for sure. Wow, we're getting a lot of people chiming in here. This is great. We're going to chat right now because you guys are sharing your thoughts and experiences. This is awesome. This is freaking great. Emperor Dread, just going to put it out there. Flower on PS3. That's another good one. Absolutely. No Man's Sky, I have that on my list. I'm about to mention that. Someone says that. What about LSD Dream Emulator on PS1? I don't remember that one. Do you?
I remember that. I don't think I ever actually loaded it up.
I don't think I ever played that one, but I will. I'll check it out, man. Tetris Connect. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Link's so good. I like smoking weed and just playing Skyrim or Oblivion. I guess the first thing I should have said when we started this topic is that generally, weed and video games is a great mix. They really are. Like, it is a great combination. Like, I don't like drinking and playing games because it gets me annoyed because I'm not as good as I normally am.
Smoking weed and playing games, I never felt that way. If I screwed up, I would just laugh at myself. Like, I never took it seriously like I would when I would drink and play games. So, yeah, I think games where you can just let it kind of wash over you and just run through an open world and fiddle around with stuff, I think that's great. But no matter what, it's a good combination. So if you already like playing Skyrim or whatever, smoking weed, you're probably going to like playing Skyrim a little bit more. Let's just be honest. Like, it just immerses you into the game more, for sure. VR and weed is very fun. Can't say that I tried that. I could see. I mean, I can't hold my lunch down playing it straight. So I have not tried that with VR at all. Retro Modern Gamer, what about LSD? Okay, matter of fact, do you still smoke weed, Shane? I do not. No. Every once in a while, like when I go home for like my big fantasy draft in Philly, I'll smoke a little bit, but really not hardly at all. I've taken an edible here and there. I was at a Thanksgiving party a couple years ago where after we finished dinner, everybody took an edible, and that was fun. We ended up playing like foosball and ping pong for like 5 hours straight, but not really anymore. Commander Fett, What the Golf and What the Car are great comedy games. Okay. And AJ the Legend says, I love Luminous while I'm high. Okay. Username checks out. I know what they're laughing about.
His username, I'd imagine.
Oh.
Read who wrote that.
Who wrote what?
Username checks out.
The Big Smoke 82. Is that why your username is that?
Well, he's named after the character, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the character is named that for a reason
For a
in
reason.
San Andreas. So.
Yeah. Retro Modern Gamer. I know that Mario 64, but his graphics looked really good. What version of Mario 64 was that? Oh, that was the player mod, Mario 64 HD. That Nintendo has done its best to wipe off the internet. Matter of fact, oddly, Horizon Remastered was Incredible Stone. Again, I think no matter what, like, games are kind of better when you're high.
Yeah, I would imagine Ghost of Tsushima would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, with the wind and all that kind of stuff. Mighty Pony Girl, 40s and weed is for Philly vacations. Yeah, I mean, we don't drink 40s still when I go back there. We've graduated away from 40s at this point. I don't even know if I could drink a 40 now. I used to be able to drink it in like 3 drinks. I could literally drink a 40 in like 3 drinks. And I bet you I couldn't even finish one now. If you gave me all night, I bet you I couldn't finish a 40. It would have to be ice cold at all times. So there are certain things that I've grown out of over time, and drinking malt liquor is definitely one of them. But I had some good times drinking malt liquor, I'll tell you that much. Because you just drink 140 and you're like, woo! Big Smoke, I tip my hat, Matt. Yeah, he like, because you figured it out. Agent the Legend says I need a sippy cup to drink a 40. But anyway, those were great times in Philadelphia. I had an awesome time hanging out and like smoking weed with college friends and some of my early rave friends and stuff like that. Also, I think another good game is the 2 recent Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. All because of some of the stuff that annoys me the most when I'm not stoned, which is all the building crap. Being able to fiddle around and snap stuff together and see how it works and all that kind of stuff. That's the type of stuff that is perfect when you're smoking weed. So I think these games are a good option when you're smoking as well. Somebody already mentioned No Man's Sky for obvious reasons, because there aren't a whole lot of objectives in this game. This is really just fly around and do whatever the hell you want. And
as long as you remember to refill your oxygen.
Right, yeah. But for the most part, it's a very passive game where you can just fiddle around and just fly through space and do whatever you want. And I think that's a good match for weed as well. Then there's Portal. I think puzzle games, I mentioned earlier that weed often makes you look at things differently and give you a different perspective on things. And I think for puzzle games, that is invaluable. Playing a game like Portal or that game The Witness on weed, I think you'll be better at the game, actually. I think you will look at each situation in a unique way, a different way, and it will help you solve the puzzles. Now,
I don't know. I've known some people that would just look at that spout and laugh at it for 5 minutes and fall asleep. So
what I was about to say is if you go too far, then it can just become overwhelming. And you're like, I don't want any of this. So you're right. Like, it is a fine line. I think for games like this, like, maybe you smoke a little before you play. You don't go all out with your homies or whatever. But maybe this is a good one for solo if you want to smoke a little bit. And then The Witness, this game actually might drive me crazy on weed.
It drove me crazy.
It kind of drove me crazy sober. So. Yeah. This is a hard puzzle game, man. I never finished this game. I got to a certain point where I was like...
did, but I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, I would have liked it better if it wasn't the same kind of puzzle
over and over again.
Like, yeah. I don't think line puzzles are all that interesting to begin with. So, like, the more and more complex you make them, the more and more annoyed you're going to make me is really the only outcome here. But the videos you get to watch at the end of the game are pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's be honest, my guess is 50% of the people playing Call of Duty every night are high.
At least.
That would be my guess.
At least.
I mean, if you just base it upon how many people tell you that they're high.
Yeah, or just based on how many 420s are in the usernames.
And that goes back to what I was saying about all video games are enhanced on weed. So I wanted to pick ones that I thought really made an impact. But ultimately, even Call of Duty is different when you play it high. Another game that might be good for multiplayer if you're stoned is Rocket League. It's mindless, it's fun, it's kind of goofy.
Although you maybe don't want that person on your team.
Right. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know that it impairs my ability to play, honestly. But I don't know. I haven't played Rocket League on weed, but it just seems like it's one of those kind of simple, mindless games that you can just kind of fiddle around with and still have fun with. And so, to me, I feel like that might be a good match, but maybe I'm wrong. Those were good days, though. I have so many, like I said, I have so many fond memories from my early college days of just hanging out at our apartment and just playing records, DJing, playing house music, playing Super Nintendo and Genesis, and drinking 40s and smoking weed. Those were some good times. I think it's pretty typical for most college students that that's what they do, and I think that's why a lot of people say the college days were some of the best days of their lives or whatever. But I certainly had fun in mine, and a lot of my memories have marijuana around them, believe it or not. Philly was a different time then, even. Like, people just smoked on the streets then, when it was still legal.
I was in the East Bay. It was pretty...
Same deal. Oakland, yeah, same deal.
Oakland and Berkeley were pretty much like that. I remember there was a bar in downtown Berkeley called Menashe's that had a giant pot leaf on the sign. You were basically allowed to go in and smoke it in the bar. They had concerts and things. It was a little like kind of, you could buy it from over the counter there. It was like a whole thing. And then
that is California, though. I mean, Pennsylvania. Then one day, you've heard the stories about Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, but one day we went there and it was gone.
Oh really? It was raided and gone.
Gone. And there was like a homeless hippie guy sitting outside of it, and we're like, "What?" And he's like, "You looking for the bar?" And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, they raided it last night. It's all gone." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm glad we came tonight and not last night."
It was insane in Philly. Like, literally, so I talked about how convenience stores would sell it. There were also places where you could go where there was just like an old house that was run down. And, like, in the back of the house, there was a basement door with a hole in it. And you could walk up and put a $10 bill in there, and they would hand weed out through the hole in the door. Like,
and then you would take that and put it in your body, huh? And then and we're all going to whine about what was in the vaccine.
Exactly.
Right. Sure.
Okay. I mean, there was also open drug markets in Philly where there were streets where it was just an open drug market. And there was houses on both sides, and people just coming out of the houses just selling drugs openly. And this is the 90s.
There was an Australian stand-up comic in San Francisco whose name I cannot fucking remember. Like, I knew him personally. I went to enough of shows he was at that like I got to know him a little bit. But he was an Australian comic, and one of his things about when he first got to San Francisco, he's like, I'd walk up and down the street, and there were all these people up and down the street going like, "Good buds, kind buds, good buds, kind buds," and I didn't understand that was a drug thing, so I was like, "Yes, we are good, kind buds." Yeah, it's just like, everyone's so friendly.
That's hilarious. Big Smoke 82 says GameFace on weed is also excellent. I love that. I'm gonna give you a round of applause for that one. What's up, Big Smoke 82? Much love, brother. Jam Rain says, anyone ever play or know of Cho Aniki?
Oh yeah,
might seem to make more sense if stoned. Or Harvester.
Cho Aniki, great brother.
Yeah,
you know that we had that on X-Play.
Yeah, Noxatornitis. I would probably
enjoy bodybuilder shooter game.
This is great. Noxatornitis. I would probably enjoy Starfield 100 times more on weed. You probably would. Barry Lomax is like, it's 4:20 p.m. for me right now.
Like, I don't know.
This is great.
Starfield, I might just be like, why is this all loading screens? I'm going to sleep.
In the comments below, share your favorite games to play on weed, man. Let's do it. I want to hear it from everybody.
Update on Capcom.
It was almost nothing. MVC Shadow dropped on Xbox. Fighting Collection 2 launches May 16th. The director talked about new Onimusha with no new footage. And they announced an Onimusha 2 remaster coming in 2025. Thank you, Vincent.
All right. I'm very curious about Fighting Collection 3.
Yeah.
Because I'm waiting for them to put Techromancer on something.
Yeah. Slagathor says you do a decent Aussie accent.
I do all right on the accent.
Barry Lomax says, fighting games in general are fun while high. Too much stress. It's too much for me. I'm on edge when I'm playing. And I would probably, when I would lose, I would just blame it on the weed. I'd just have a scapegoat to blame my losses on. I don't think that would be a good mix for me. But again, like, everybody's different, you know? God Yes Techromancer from Stucky. Leveling on MMO's World of Warcraft for me. So you like, I mean, those are laid back and pretty chill.
Grinding is part of that. Yeah,
I could see that for sure.
I'm also I've improved my Aussie accent recently because my friend Allison from Australia, because her girlfriend, her girlfriend and I would just make fun of her for her accent because she puts R's everywhere. So I almost got her a hat for Christmas that was it was a baseball cap, and on it just says "Our Naur." AURNAUR, which is oh no in Australia. And it's because she just all I'm like, because she's a producer, she does stuff on film sets all the time, and I'm just like, just put that hat on when everything's going wrong. And everyone's like, our now. It's very funny to me. And I was talking about that because my friend from England, she runs murder mystery parties, and this weekend she said she was telling the people at the party, who apparently were 40. She did this at a 40th birthday party, and came to my friend's 50th birthday party. And she's like, these were two very different parties in terms of alcohol consumption. The 40-year-old does not understand yet, but she told them to go wait through the archway, and none of them knew what she meant. And she had to do her American. She said, go stand in the archway. Yeah. And I'm like, I make fun of the accent, but I'm like, how do you not understand what she's saying?
Yeah.
What else would that be? It is funny that, like, you know, England and Australia, like, they don't say the R's where the R's are, and they put R's where there are no R's.
Right, yeah, they add them. Yeah.
And yet they say herb because there's a fucking H in it. And it's like, I don't... Very hard to put it all together.
Noxatornitis says, wouldn't be able to remember how long waiting for the loading screen, so it's a wash.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, yeah.
Big Smoke 82 says, mine is Fight Night Champion. I swear I can see those punches in slow motion, LOL. Mighty Pony Girl says, and they put the F in the word lieutenant.
Yes. What is it, Lieutenant Bastion? Lieutenant Sebastian. This is the rebels, sir. They're here.
Yeah. AJ says another frustrating game to play while high is Mega Man. Absolutely. Anything where you have to have like pinpoint accuracy or timing.
NES games are bad.
No, they're all bad. But that's why we played SNES when I was in college.
Yeah, thank God the 3D Revolution hit right as we were in college.
Seriously, though. It did make a difference. Again, I'll never forget the first time playing Super Mario 64 on Wii. It blew my freaking mind. So, I think it blew people's minds even not on Wii, because it was just like we never seen anything like it. Yeah.
Like when I brought it that New Year's party, the year that the N64 came out, everyone was captivated by it, but the people who sat and played it all night were the stoned ones.
Yep. You picked up on that, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew the people who were there. I knew. There one guy was stoned so much when I don't think after we went to college, I knew him in high school, but after we went to college, I don't think I ever saw him sober, like not stoned, for like 20 years.
Wow.
And then it was like 6 or 7 years ago or something. Like, a lot of stuff happened and he had to move and all this stuff was going on, and to save money, because it was, money was tight, he quit weed for a while. And it was just always, all the time, every day. Like you said, those people, every day. Yeah. And he'd worked a tech job. He'd been a successful person. It wasn't some kind of slob. No, right. He was functioning the whole time. Yeah. But he hadn't gotten stoned in like 2 months or something for the first, probably the longest time he hadn't gotten stoned since we were in high school. Mm-hmm. And at one point, he turns to some of us and goes, I'm so nervous and anxious about things all the time because this, that, and oh my God, I don't know if this is going to happen. And my friend turns to him and goes, welcome to the rest of the world. Welcome to what our lives are when we're not stoned all the time. Like, that's what it's like.
Maybe he had the right idea.
Yeah, and he was like, I got to get back on this shit as fast as I can.
That's hilarious.
Like, he'd never been stressed out before in his adult life.
Yeah. And
I'm like, I'm like, you can make fun of him all you want, but we're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's winning. That's hilarious. So anyway, it is episode 420 of GameFace. We wanted to celebrate it in the most 420 way possible, and I think we just did that. I had fun talking with you guys about this. It's freaking hilarious. So anyway, happy 420. Happy GameFace 420 to all of you who partake. And maybe I'll go and stop by the dispensary on the way home. Probably not, but it's worth the thought. So there you go. That's how we're going to celebrate 420 here on GameFace. It is funny, actually. A lot of other podcasts celebrate 420 every year on 420. Oh, yeah. But we've actually never done that until now. All right, let's move on. We're going to preview a game here on GameFace. As I said at the show open, we're not going to just completely cut out previews of games here on the show. If we have extended previews where we have a lot of information, a lot of footage, then we'll do them offline. Matt and I will do them. But if we've only played a little bit of something and we just want to talk about it briefly, then we will still talk about it here on GameFace. And that's what we're going to do right now with the First Berserker, Khazan. Did you get a chance to play this at all, Matt?
No, I'm going to skip this.
Yeah, you should. Because first of all, it is a Souls-like.
It just looks like the most generic Souls clone if possible.
Yes. My final statement about this game is that there's nothing remarkable about it. By the number Souls-like, nothing remarkable about it. B-tier production values. That's my last sentence of my notes. But that is probably the best way to encapsulate this game in a sentence. It's set in this, I don't even know where the hell this is supposed to be set. It's in the 89th year of the Pellos Empire, whatever the hell that means.
So some fantasy thing.
Yeah. The Emperor has sentenced the great General Khazan and Ozma to the gravest punishment possible for crimes against the Empire. He's been convicted of treason. And then he had to endure apparently merciless torture, culminating in the severing, this is very specific, culminating in the severing of the tendons in both arms and his exile. And this is him now that he's been exiled. And apparently they've severed the tendons in his arms. I don't know why they would do that, but for some reason they have.
I don't know, but they sent 20 guys with him.
Yeah.
Clearly he's a threat.
Well, then they bring him out here and they drop him off and just leave him there. And I don't know why he's here. Like, it doesn't really explain why he's there.
No, he's a treason.
But I mean,
what do you do with a traitor other than dump him in the snow after you've made his arms not work anymore?
but what is he doing? And his arms do work. That's the crazy part. His arms are fine. Like, he walks like 10 feet into the forest and he's magically healed.
Well, you get mad enough.
That might be part of it, actually.
Well, if you hadn't sent 20 guys, you wouldn't have lost that many people.
Yeah. So so he does have his arms clipped for some reason, but very, very quickly into this game, he is healed by like this spirit or something. And they don't really explain like who the spirit is or whatever, but he becomes like a disembodied voice in your head throughout the entire game, saying things like, "Your body is ours now," or "Surrender to us now." Just crap like that that's just constantly...
The crows or whatever. Excited about.
Yep. It is a Souls-like, so this game has bonfires for save points. And so there's this, instead of souls in this, you collect this stuff called lacrima. So every time you defeat an enemy or whatever, you pick up the lacrima. When you die, your lacrima is dropped, and so you have to go and pick it back up. When you get to the save points, the bonfires, you can level up your character while you're there. So again, it's very much like every other Souls-like on the market. You can dual-wield weapons. You have a health bar, and you have a stamina bar, which I always love. I love games that have stamina bars, Matt. And in this game, it really is freaking annoying. This is one of those games where you fight one guy, and you can't finish him off before you run out of stamina.
Yeah, there's two directions to go with the Souls-like, and that's one of them.
And I hate it. It is my least enjoyable way to go with the
Souls-like.
Souls-like.
even the From games learned to ease up on that over time. Elden Ring doesn't really... Elden Ring is there to stop you from completely spamming stuff, but it's not like you run out of stamina every time.
I hardly ever did. In this game, by the time you get through the first guy, you're done. And you need to run away or block or whatever to rebuild your stamina back up. There's a block and a parry. There's a roll. There's L1 to guard. But while you're guarding, your movement speed and your stamina recovery rate are both nerfed. If you time your block perfectly, there's this thing called a brink guard. It basically breaks the enemy's stamina bar, and its fortitude meters basically just allows you an opening to jump in and attack. Square is quick attack. Triangle is heavy attack. You can hold the triangle to do a more powerful, powered up attack. Use your D-pad to heal, or you can tap it left and right to choose like your magic options, and you just tap it up to actually perform the spell. As far as like your loadout, you have weapons, 5 pieces of armor, and 2 accessories. And then you can set up to 6 different things to your hotkeys, so you can fire them off on the fly if you want health or whatever, or a magic spell. Your character is actually rated in 11 categories, but when you go to level up, at least for me initially, when you go to level up at the bonfires in this, there's only like 5 categories that you can actually like boost with the lacrima. So I'm not sure how you get to those other 6 categories to level those up. Maybe they happen automatically. And then there's certain points where you come across these objects on the ground. They're called soul tier dust.
And if you absorb those, that increases your power and it affects your overall ratings in the game. As I said, the bonfires in this are called the Blade Nexus because they're two blades like crossed, like hanging in the air, basically. And as I said, there's only 5 stats that you can upgrade when you're at the bonfires. I don't know how the rest of them work, but the 5 that you can adjust are vitality, endurance, strength, willpower, and proficiency. But otherwise, I spent, I don't know, an hour and a half playing this, and I got to a point in the game where I just couldn't go any further. I just kept dying over and over and over again. It was like you fight your first mini-boss, and it's really hard to fight the mini-boss, and then if you try to run away and go upstairs in the room you're fighting him, there's like 8 dudes up there, and it just got this thing where I was doing this ridiculous, like, baiting the mini-boss, teasing him out, hacking him. He'd run back in and reset. I was doing that to like beat him, and I finally beat him, and then I went upstairs, and there was like 8 dudes in a hallway, and I was like, F this. I'm like, I don't have any interest in playing any more of this game. And I had played enough to kind of get the lay of the land as well. It was interesting, when I first saw the trailers for this, man, I thought it was like an isometric game. Because a lot of the trailers, they pull the camera like way back, and it almost looks like an isometric action RPG. But it's not. It's like basically like any other third-person hack and slash. Camera's pretty close to the character. You can swing it around when you want to. Level design is 100% linear. This game also doesn't have the labyrinthine like level design like you get in Dark Souls, where like it folds on top of itself, and like suddenly you walk out of a door, like, holy crap, I'm back at the beginning. Like, this is all just like a long string of cattle chutes with some open areas here and there. It is very gory, as you probably have noticed from the B-roll. It doesn't pull any punches, that's for sure. But I didn't have much fun with this game. There's a demo available right now on pretty much everything if you want to give it a go for yourself. But this game comes out March 27th. It's coming to everything but Switch, and I played enough of this in this demo to know that it is not something that I want to return to in about 2 months here. So, Matt, you are even at the point where you're kind of burnt out on this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it would take a very special game to make me pay attention to. I've done this. I've done it.
Yeah, I feel like everybody has.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's a lot of people who are still ready for more.
This just looks really generic to me.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of what you're doing. Not that the art style looks generic, but like what you're doing looks like just... Like, it doesn't look all that different from what Darksiders 2 did.
No, you're right.
Frankly. Like,
yeah. Well, other than it's a lot more difficult.
Sure,
than Darksiders
but like,
was,
it just there's no there there.
Mm-hmm. But you can see the.
And even
there.
the trailers were just like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't care about this. I'll probably, it would probably take From to make me play another From type game.
Noxatornitis says it plays a lot more in the vein of Neo than Dark Souls for those interested. Level design and weapon-based skills. Weapon-based skill trees stand out. Yeah. I only played this for like an hour, and I really couldn't take any more. Red Fox 1980. I tried Bloodborne a few times, not my thing. Same here. I tried it actually maybe more than a few times, and I just could never come around on it. Definitely for me, Elden Ring was the Souls-like I played the most, for sure. Jam Rain says I tried the demo a bit, but it just didn't feel quite as tight and put together. I agree. I also felt like the controls in this were kind of loosey-goosey. I didn't feel like I had total control over the character, and for games like this, that's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to feel like I have 100% confidence in the controls in the control scheme in a game like this. Otherwise, I get pissed off, and I'm like, screw this.
Like the game, like we'll talk about separately. What is it?
Eternal Strands.
Like, I don't feel like the control in the character is phenomenal in that.
Agreed.
But the consequences for it are way less than in a Souls-like.
You can afford to screw up in that game. In this one, not so much. The other thing, too, is like once you run out of stamina, it really starts to get annoying. You get like the enemy down to like that one last little bit, and they'll just block the living crap out of it. And you don't have enough stamina to do the powerful attack to break down their guard, and I ended up running away. Like, to each their own. And like, if you like stuff like this, cool. I hate it. I'm not a fan of it at all. And I'm someone who grew up in the arcades playing impossible games, and grew up with the NES playing impossible games. But there's a reason why those games are from the 80s and the 90s, because we've kind of moved past them, and I just don't enjoy them anymore. So when I play these games, it reminds me of playing those old 2D games from like the NES and stuff like that. It's just try again. Oh, I made one little mistake. Try again. Back then, it's all we knew. Now I know other things, and I just would rather not spend my time.
Well, I can see that's the thing is like I don't feel like the From games are like that. I think once you understand the systems and you understand how they work and what they want, you can get through a new experience pretty cleanly without knowing exactly what's happening. But way too many of these non-From clones of From games do exactly what you're saying, where it's just like they just throw weird shit at you all the time, and it doesn't really match the system doesn't dictate how you interact with the enemies or the boss, whatever happens. It's just like, oh, this guy does this, and there's no precedent for that, but you're just gonna have to fucking deal with it because we expect you to die here and come back. And well, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of the challenge thing, but the From games more or less play fair, and I feel like a lot of the clones don't. And I find that the only Souls clone I would say. And I'm not a huge fan of it, but I do think Liza P plays pretty straightforwardly fair with everything it does. From what I only played probably like a third of that game, but I never felt like it was pulling any bullshit.
Yeah.
It felt like it understood why Bloodborne was Bloodborne.
Yeah.
In a way that most of the clones don't.
I think most people agree with you. It seemed like most people who really enjoyed that subgenre really liked Liza P.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be the most well-regarded of them.
Yeah.
I still don't really love it.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, in comparison to some of the other stuff of the Lords of the Fallens and the this thing and some of the other, like Liza P probably gets it better than anybody else. Or what was that one that the Spiders did? With the
Technomancer.
No,
that wasn't a
Technomancer's
Souls-like.
an action RPG. I'm talking about the one with
the Souls-like that they did.
Yeah, the French Revolution with the clockwork woman.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but
I can't remember the
name of it. All these games just blend together for me. They all feel like they have similar titles, and they don't stand out. It's like dark fantasy, Souls-like.
Steel Rising, that was it. Greedfall was a BioWare RPG.
I never would have pulled Steel Rising. I never would have got that out of my brain.
Yeah, Greedfall was Spider's closest they've ever come to a traditional 3D BioWare RPG, and then they made a tactical combat turn. Greedfall 2. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's still not out.
It was a huge
yet,
mistake. It's still not out. It's in early access.
It's not 1.0 yet.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. It sucks. It sucks when they ruin a franchise that you enjoyed.
Well, they were so on the path to becoming like the new BioWare as they kept getting better.
And now we
game.
need the
and
new
now
BioWare.
we really need that. Like we need someone to.
The timing would have worked out perfect.
We need someone to fill that niche.
Yeah.
And it's just.
That's not going to
what a
happen now.
waste.
I hear you. So anyway, there you go. That's the first Berserker Khazan. Again, it comes out on March 27th. It's coming to everything but Switch. I do not recommend it, but you guys know already, I'm not a fan of Souls-likes. Matt is a fan of Souls-likes, but he doesn't really like these types of Souls-likes.
I'm a fan of From's games for the most part. I don't think anybody really does it the same way they do, and there's enough From games that I don't feel like I need to play.
Yeah,
these
one comes around enough
rans.
that it's like if you just play From's games, you usually get your fix.
I mean, I'm not even halfway through Shadow of the Erd Tree if I wanted to do that. Like, so what would I play this for?
Yeah, I hear you. So anyway, there you go. That is the first Berserker Khazan. Next up, we're starting to get little trickles of information about Grand Theft Auto 6. It is undoubtedly the biggest game, at least the most anticipated game for pretty much everybody at this point. Although there are some outliers who. It has been interesting watching some YouTube comments from people about this game on a couple recent episodes of Pachter Factor. You have the people that are like, I have no interest in this. I don't care about this at all. And they are the people who are most vocal, it seems like.
I mean, I admit I'm curious about it just because, Grand Theft Auto is such an 800-pound gorilla in the gaming world. Right. I'm not that interested in playing it.
Really?
Like, I feel like it's just going to be the same thing Rockstar always makes, except...
It could be.
Like, I think the Red Dead setting's more interesting than a modern-day Miami. Like, I just don't... or even San Andreas. Like, I have more connection to California, obviously. I think it's more interesting to be in L.A. and the surrounding areas. Like... I realize there's a lot of potential in like the craziness of Florida to do a GTA in it, but like I don't know if I want to like be immersed in this.
I'll be honest with you, Matt. Like reality has become so insane.
Yeah, like how do you satirize
it? If I feel like it's already satirized.
And my question kind of becomes like having not that we have a way to gauge it because Rockstar makes stuff so infrequently. Is Rockstar up to satirizing what America has become since GTA 5?
I mean,
I would argue it has become more like GTA 5 than GTA 5 in some ways.
Well, the other thing, too, is that the climate has changed so much that there could be, if they make their usual game, there could be so much backlash against Grand Theft Auto 6 from that certain segment of people.
Especially considering where it's set. And you got to wonder, can they resist
The low-hanging fruit.
The low-hanging fruit of who also lives there.
I know. It can go a million different ways.
Because remember, like, most of the stuff they would have been putting in this would have been put in it a year or 2 years ago at latest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the content of this was probably put together in 2019 or so.
Yeah, like, I don't know if the satire in this will make me laugh. I think it may make me sad. Because you realize this is real life now. This isn't a joke.
Well, no, I mean, most of these little clips, especially the shot of that woman with the hand, like, that's taken from a real TikTok.
Yeah.
That's a real video.
Yeah.
And that guy sued him for royalties somehow.
Like, he lost.
Clearly, people are going to buy the game because you're in it, dude. Well done.
So we are slowly getting information about the new Grand Theft Auto that's coming out, hopefully before the end of the year. We'll see if it actually makes this year. But one of the little details that came out this week is that Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5 will not be in Grand Theft Auto 6. What do you think that tells you about GTA 6? Other than it's probably not going to continue the story of Grand Theft Auto 5 in any meaningful way.
Well, it's not in L.A. That's really all it says. Like, why would Trevor be in Florida?
I mean, he could have just moved there, like a lot of people did, Matt.
Sort of, but Trevor doesn't seem
that
like
could be part of the plot, actually.
Trevor's going to live in the desert outskirts of Palmdale for his entire life. I mean, that's his natural habitat, let's be honest. I mean, former protagonists of GTA games don't really play any role in the next one.
They usually don't. Yeah.
Like,
there's been a couple exceptions.
Claude showed up in a race in San Andreas, I think.
There's cameos usually.
What's at the beginning of when Trevor's first mission, he kills the guy from the first DLC of 4.
Oh, right. That's right. I forgot about that.
The biker guy.
Yeah.
Horribly. I guess it's a brutal death.
It is, yeah. I forgot about that.
I don't think CJ ever showed. I
haven't played this game in like 13 years,
I think somebody mentioned Tommy at one point, and somebody mentioned CJ, or maybe or Grove Street's brought up. But like, you really don't check back in with these characters ever again.
I wonder if Trevor and some of the characters, the old characters of Grand Theft Auto, might end up popping up in GTA Online. To get people to go over and play GTA Online.
Somewhat. Mitchell points out that the guy who played Michael in GTA 5 seems to know a surprising amount about 6. So maybe Michael's in. Michael would seem like the character from 5 who would be the most likely to end up somewhere else.
Yep, agreed. He's the most vanilla of all of them, who would fit just about anywhere.
Yeah, and he is also much more the type of guy who would move to Florida in the last 10 years.
It's true. That's a good point. Also, his house is still standing.
Yeah.
It was one of the houses that was spared during the fires.
Well, that wasn't his house. That was his psychiatrist
right.
house.
That's right, yeah. That's just where the game starts, basically. Yeah.
Although where he lives probably did get burned down, actually.
Maybe.
I mean, he was up in the hills. I don't know if that, there's no, the geographical setting is not 1-to-1, but I guess you could argue, and he's not Pacific Palisades, though. He's Bel Air. He's up there. I don't know. Michael, I could see that.
He does seem most likely, for sure.
Especially, he's also probably the character who needed the most to get out of Los Santos after the events of 5.
Right. Well, the other thing, too, is that, it's been, 13 freaking years.
Yeah.
Would anybody even remember a lot of these characters? Most people that are playing GTA now are playing GTA Online. They're not playing the campaign anymore. People finished that a decade ago.
Yeah. We'll also remember that, Mike, if they're, assuming they're keeping the setting, Trevor and Michael are in their late 50s.
Right.
At this point.
Yeah, they're old.
Or older. I don't know. I don't remember how old Trevor. I think he's supposed to be in his mid to late 40s.
Yeah.
So 13 years later, you're pushing 60 at that point.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
A long time.
I don't know if that time has passed in real time in GTA land, but
probably. If you were some 12-year-old whose parents were letting him play GTA 5 back in the day, you're 25 now.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. And here's the one thing I would say, too, is Grand Theft Auto is one of the few franchises where it can get away with not having connective tissue with the other games.
Yeah.
Everything can be entirely new. I'm
gonna bet that the vast majority of people who played these games couldn't tell you what each game's story is about.
No.
Beyond the most... they can tell you probably who...
The characters. A couple things that happened, maybe.
But what the story was...
Yeah, what was the plot, actually?
I don't know.
Yeah. Grand Theft Auto 4 is pretty easy. Because Nico is coming to America to try to make it.
Yeah, 4 is pretty easy. I can more or less tell you what happened to CJ in San Andreas.
But GTA 5, you're right.
5, yeah. Well, partly because, like, you know, Michael's the only one with a really coherent storyline.
Right.
Like, Trevor sort of weaves in and out of it. And Franklin, it feels like Franklin had a story at some point. It just kind of got cut for time.
It does feel that way. Yeah, I agree with that.
He's barely...
Cut for time.
He's barely a character, you know.
That's hilarious. When you have 13 years.
Because I wonder, like, if the idea was... Because we know they cut a lot of the heist stuff out of the single-player game to put it in the online game. I wonder if a lot of that meat of the middle of the game was supposed to be kind of Franklin as the new kid, sort of building himself up as a planner of these heists.
Right.
And, like, kind of running that little empire for Michael and Trevor. And then maybe part of his resolution was, like, I'm doing all the work. Why are you guys making all the money? And, like, that's where the schism kind of would begin.
Right.
And instead, it just sort of unravels because of a bad job at some point. That could also have been part of it. You know, maybe they blame him for that.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's the one who's supposed to be. Because I would imagine, I could see that being like, you know, Michael has sort of the dumb, you know, middle-aged satire. Trevor's the crazy guy who does anything. You know, you want to be crazy GTA shit, you're going to be Trevor. And Franklin's sort of like going to interact with sort of the minigame systems that got cut from the game, so you kind of lost a lot of friends. That would be my theory.
He's also your connection to, like, the urban side of the location and all that kind of stuff.
Well, he's the most normal person of the three of them. Like, he's the only normal human being of the three characters you play as. So,
Yep. So anyway, no Trevor in Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm not sure what that means about the overarching plot. Retro Modern Gamer says at one point, wasn't there a single-player DLC for GTA 5 that got cut? Yes,
the
there
heist
was.
stuff was supposed to be... A lot of the heist stuff was supposed to be a single-player, part of the single-player story. Which you can tell because... What's his name? The weaselly guy who teaches you all that stuff in the single-player story. I can't remember. Maybe his name was Weasel. I don't remember. But he... the guy who gives you the heist missions, like... He sets all that up as though it's going to be a big system that slowly evolves. And you're going to level up these guys you hire for these heists, and this guy now, after this heist, you get the loot, and you divide the loot up, and you can spend it on this to raise their, you know, evasion level or like driving ability or whatever. And then like you never do that again.
Right.
Like, none of that. Like you do like 2 of those, and like the rest of them are all story related that have outcomes that are predetermined, and you just never fucking do another heist. It's like it's so clearly a cut major gameplay system that it's honestly irritating as hell to me.
I think
because that seemed pretty fun. I thought that would have been pretty cool.
I think GTA Online is the big X factor for this game.
Yeah,
what are they going to do with it? How's it going to be incorporated?
Yeah, I mean, I've even seen people saying they theoretically they could sell them separately, which they probably could. Mm-hmm. I would appreciate that because I'd rather not pay for online, so I'd rather just buy the campaign and be done with it.
That's a good point, actually. I mean, typically charging extra for an online multiplayer mode is not, but it's Grand Theft Auto.
It's Grand Theft Auto. They can do whatever they want. They can charge
really
$70 for the campaign and $70 for GTA Online 2 or whatever they want to call it, and
they could get away with it. Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Not
buy it? Not play it? Nope. No. You're gonna pay for it and you're gonna play it. Yep, I hear you. So anyway, just some more tidbits trickling in about Grand Theft Auto 6. Meanwhile, it's been over a year since the last trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6. What's Rockstar doing?
Super Bowl's on Sunday.
You're right. I mean, I think you're right. I think that we may see something for Grand Theft Auto 6 at the Super Bowl. Yeah. I mean, it's perfect timing. It's
you're never gonna
in the wheelhouse.
You're never gonna have that many eyeballs who might not otherwise know it's coming.
Yeah.
Like there's the people who make Grand Theft Auto, you know, the multi tens of millions hit. They don't even know that trailer exists.
Yeah, you got to remember this is the last Super Bowl before it comes out. Yeah. So this is your last chance to hit that audience, unless you're just going to advertise on the Game Awards.
Well, that's too late.
I'm joking. So anyway, these
are the most eyeballs you will ever get at once on that trailer.
Yep.
To know, and it's not even like you want everyone who watches the Super Bowl to know that Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming.
Yeah. Because they don't know. It's been 13 years. They've never seen that trailer that we just showed.
No.
They don't know. Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest on Grand Theft Auto 6. Next up, reviews for a couple big games came out yesterday, and we're going to review them in next week's show. Well, not in next week's show, but we'll review them next week. It'll be a part of our recording session. And that is surprising scores, I think, for both games. So we got the scores, first of all, for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which the first game is Metacritic is like a 65 or something like that.
68 or so, I think.
Is it?
It was if you look at all platforms at once, I think it averages out to about a 68.
And It's at an 87 right now.
Mm-hmm.
The
It
sequel
was over 90.
The
for a
sequel
while.
is a full 2 points higher
Yeah.
than the predecessor.
I did
that
not
never happened.
Did not expect that. I was hoping for like high 7s.
Yeah.
Like, that's your usual improvement.
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
This is definitely my best last pick ever.
Matt picked this with his 10th pick
Yeah.
in the draft. That is some value in
Crazy.
your 10th pick right there, man. Like, holy cow.
But made up for by what was Civilization, my 4th?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that next, because that's the other one that also had a surprising review for the other reason.
I was a little worried about this,
Really?
I admit, but I was kind of hoping that with the previews they were putting out that it wasn't going to be an issue, but like...
Wait, you talking about Kingdom Come?
Civilization.
Civ, okay.
I'm not super shocked by the Civilization outcome.
I am. I thought that was as locked and loaded 9 as it could possibly be.
I was concerned about it because it has happened before.
So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has an 87. It is like, some people have called it like one of the best action RPGs they've ever played.
Yeah, this is clearly an early game of the year.
I'm excited to play this now.
So,
and I never would have been excited to play this game.
I mean, a lot of the reviews I've read have said that like it's still pretty frustrating in places.
Oh, really?
Like the combat.
It seemed like the jank was gone though, which was a big thing.
Somewhat, I guess, but like there's a lot of people. I mean, some of the praise from this is coming from people who are saying like, if you wish like the Bethesda RPG had taken the turn into more like intricate and basically complex things instead of like going into the more mainstream friendly direction, this is the game for you. So I mean, you're still got to worry about whether he's thirsty or not, or whether like, you know, that
F
kind
that.
of stuff.
I hate that crap.
So
But I'm going to be dealing with it for the next 7 days, so lucky me.
Yeah. It's been an interesting ride.
I can't believe it scored that high after the last game.
Yeah, I'm very surprised, but I mean, I guess they took that criticism to heart.
Yeah. I think it's also, and I almost hate to bring this up, but I also think it's a good sign for editorial integrity, because let's be honest, this studio has a horrible reputation. And people always say, oh, all the games writers are woke or whatever. No, they evaluated this game regardless of the cultural BS.
But those guys and the former founder / now game director, because creative director, whatever he is, Vavra, like he's still on Twitter whining about low scores. It's like, dude,
oh really? With an 87?
So some random outlet I've never heard of gave it like a 50, and so that dropped the Metacritic below 90. And he was yelling at him on Twitter. I'm like, bro, just take the fucking W.
Get
why
a grip,
are you
man.
dipshits never happy even when you win?
Yeah,
like, what is
seriously.
going on? And then like this whole thing has been weird because this was because of him. You know, the Chuds were championing this as a non-woke game, and then at some point there was some kind of report, which turned out I think to be false, that Saudi Arabia banned it because it had an unskippable gay sex scene, and like they all freaked out. Oh my God, no! It's a woke game. And then the developer guy was calling them Nazi shitheads on the Steam discussion forum. And so Deep Silver instituted all these rules: no homophobia, no transphobia, no racism, no sex. Like, just, you know, they locked down the forum for the game, and then all the chuds went even more crazy about censorship over that.
No, right.
So like this game has bounced back and forth between like it's the best non-woke game to like, oh no, it's been poisoned by woke, and then the Vavra was like, we made what we thought what we wanted to make, and we made something that we think would plausibly happen in this time period. And yeah, like there might be some gay stuff in here, but that's because gay stuff has always been a thing. Like, you know,
It's realistic, yeah.
He's been pretty like, you know, pragmatic about it for the most part. And the word is there is some, you know.
Yeah.
Which isn't super surprising if you played the first game and there was sort of a not a will they, won't they, but there was some tension between him and one of the other characters. And so I'm not super shocked by that.
Yeah.
But again, you control the buttons you press.
Yeah. It's
Like-
up to you what you want to do.
Like he also said that no scene in the game is unskippable. So he
Right.
doesn't know what anybody's talking about, and it hasn't been banned in Saudi Arabia. So like,
But-
nothing like that ever happened. So
Yeah, yeah.
as far as he knows, and I think he would know because he made it. So
Back to my point, though, the journalists who are all woke,
They reviewed it as they reviewed. I mean,
They gave it a fair shake.
I've never known any real person who works for a real outfit, outlet that like doesn't review things on their own terms.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know. And sure enough, everybody in the thread where he called out the one place I'd never heard of. I think the reviewer is like non-binary and just didn't like the game, and they are ripping apart like, oh, you can't listen to journalists, you can't listen to. I'm like, but the other journalist gave it like a 91. Like, what are you complaining about?
It's the one person that's the problem, Matt. It's the one.
Obviously.
So anyway, surprised that game got the score it is. Again, Matt and I will talk about this next week.
Yeah, no issues with it. That's anchoring the team nicely. I really did. I thought it was going to do fine. I really was kind of picking it because I couldn't think of anything else that I thought would score decently.
Yeah.
And I was just hoping
Worked
that it would.
out.
I hoped it would improve from the previous one, and it did.
It sure did. And then we have Civilization 7, which I thought was the most dyed-in-the-wool 9 out of 10 game ever, and it's sitting at like a high 7.
It was at an 80 last I looked at it, but like.
It's probably gone back from 7.9 to 8.0 as more reviews come out, but it's right around an 8 basically.
Like, it's not a terrible score for my team, but and I really only picked it when I did because I knew you were going to go for it.
And
next.
I would have,
but I did have some misgivings about whether it would score as high as it was going to, because every once in a while Civ leaves something out or does something weird or doesn't have some kind of strange choice they make where they don't just give you Civilization again.
Yeah.
They tried to change it up, and nobody likes how they change it up, and you have to wait for them to fix it.
The big complaints with this seem to be that they made it too easy for like casual players to play it.
Some of it's a little too easy. The other thing is a lot of the reviews were upset that Gandhi isn't in it.
Yeah,
which is
I saw that.
Like, I'm like, fair. Okay, Gandhi is kind of a staple of Civilization.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just like weird little oversights and UI things like the game. Oh, and how like the tech tree stops at 1950, like there's no space race. There's no
really.
They basically end and apparently like the age of exploration lasts forever. Like so like the ages the different eras of civilization are not equally balanced in terms of how long you spend playing them.
Interesting.
And it ends in the mid 20th century, and presumably there will be a DLC expansion that adds the space race.
We're going to space.
But so there's no real nukes. Sort of. I mean, I guess there would be.
There are
1947, but like there's no Cold War, there's no space race, there's none of that kind of thing. In the same way that that was always an option to win, and maybe it is now. I don't know. The people were a little vague about that. The other thing that I thought was maybe more emblematic of the frustration people were having more than anything else is apparently on the AI turns, it doesn't show you the individual battles that happen. It just, everything happens at once, and when it comes back to your turn, you just have to sort of, like, it'll show you if one of your units in somewhere dies in a fight, but it doesn't show you every fight that happens. So you then have to go check every one of your places that is maybe in a potential conflict zone to make sure those units are not about to die in the next round.
That's
because
annoying.
Then and if you just let it go, you might lose some places because you didn't know those guys needed to be reinforced.
Right.
So you're sort of doing a lot of needless busy work where if it would just do what the other games have done, they just zoom over and show each fight and you see what happens and you see where everything is and you make a mental note to jump in where you need to jump in and that's it.
That seems like
and
a
like
huge
why
mistake.
is that not?
That seems like a huge mistake.
That seems pretty basic to me. Like I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah. I read a lot about the computer AI. It felt like that seemed like the most common complaint of all of them. Yeah.
I mean, part of it is just like we should probably accept that they're never going to make anything as good as Civ 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, those are singular games, and 4 was good. 5 was the other one that launched hard, kind of
broken,
rough, and they eventually built it up. Civ 6 in general was really good.
I thought 6 was great. Yeah.
And this one not. So
I'm surprised.
I mean, one of the reasons
I'm still excited to play it.
I do think one of the reasons Civ 6 was so good that they really integrated a lot of the Civ Revolution stuff into it and kind of like created a nice synthesis. Sounds like this maybe went too far
the other direction.
And like there's a little bit of like it sounds like people don't really like the way you have to kind of start over with the different like kind of
eras. Yeah.
Which certainly didn't sound great to me when I first heard it. So
I'm keeping an open mind. I love this franchise, and I'm excited to play it still. So.
I mean, I love 2 and 3, and I enjoyed 6. I don't know. I've never been too sure if kind of my fall off of Civilization interest is me or them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to find out.
I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the reviews, and again, we'll be covering
I want to pay all that
week.
extra money for the fucking early access shit.
Right. Yeah. How much extra is it for that?
A lot.
Really?
I think it's like 100.
Oh, F that.
100 for that, and then the super deluxe version beyond that includes all the DLCs, like 130.
Also, we actually maybe won't be covering.
I will not have played it yet because it's not until February 11th.
I'm surprised how early the reviews came out.
Yeah, they must have been confident for some reason.
And now They're like, oops, maybe we should have waited.
No, I won't be playing that till the 11th.
Okay.
So
Yep. So anyway, there you go. Those are the review scores. We just want to get it on your radar. Good review scores for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Good, but not as good as we thought for Civilization 7. Next up, we're going to talk about what we teased a little bit earlier. We're going to talk about PlayStation on PC. Kind of the big headline from this week that people have been complaining about for months now is how it used to be if you wanted to play one of PlayStation's exclusives on PC, you still had to have an account with PlayStation Network. And it drove PC players crazy. They're like, why am I being forced to sign up for this PlayStation Network I'm never going to use? I'm a PC player. And Sony, despite hearing all this, just never made any changes. And then out of the blue this week, Sony's like, okay, we're going to relent. And it has now removed the PSN requirement for playing its games on PC. Thank God. Again, the Duck Consulting Agency could have told them that was a terrible idea.
I know they want more metrics and they want to like have kind of that plugged into their sort of PSN player-based stuff, but it's just not worth the
It's
grief.
just not worth it.
Like,
Pissing them off.
you're getting, you're getting some internal data, but is it worth all that the constant PR problem? No,
Yeah.
of course not.
Well, the other thing too about it is
I'm just a little surprised that they realized it and did something about it.
well, the problem was that they were cutting themselves off from sales because there were a lot of countries that don't even have PSN, and so those countries couldn't buy the games.
Yeah, which is like the solution to that is to expand PSN into those
Right.
territories. Like, what are you doing? And until then, don't use it as a requirement.
Yeah, and instead of doing that,
It's pulling it from sale.
Yeah, and as of right now, these games are still not for sale in those territories.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they got rid of the PSN requirement and the very next day you could buy those games in those territories.
Still require it.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. You still can't buy the games.
Now,
in those
hopefully, this
territories.
means that they will.
They're
be
working on it.
patching that going forward.
We're hoping, anyway. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, these games have been hit and miss on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're handled great, sometimes they're not handled great, and you really do have to wait for them to come out because, as you pointed out, Matt, like there's no early reviews for the PC versions of these in a lot of cases.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 was a little weird. It was up not that long before it came out, and you couldn't pre-order it. Like they put a page up on Steam, but like you couldn't pre-order it. You could only buy it when it went live that morning, and there was there's obviously the digital deluxe. There's extra versions of it or whatever, but like you had no idea whether it ran well or not. And so luckily I didn't. Luckily I saw the reviews and the reports of the performance problems and the stability problems before I got to Steam and thought about buying it. So I held off.
Is this the worst of all of them? Spider-Man 2?
Some people are saying that. I don't know if it's as bad as Horizon 1 was.
Yeah.
Horizon 1 was very rough.
Yeah.
But this this one's funnier in a lot of ways. Like Aunt May not having a face is pretty funny. Like it's just like a blank white like polygon face, and it's just like it's horrifying. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how. I didn't play this or the initial version of Horizon, so I don't know firsthand how bad they were.
Well, the crazy thing about this game in particular is it's the shortest time frame from being released on PlayStation to coming out for
just
PC.
over a year, yeah.
And it seems like this is the game that needed the extra time more than the other ones did. You got to wonder how Insomniac feels about this as well. I mean, my guess is this was PlayStation's call to release it in the state that it was in.
Yeah, I don't think they were... I'm sure they were consulted, but they weren't the one making this.
Yeah.
This is what, Nix's?
I guess. I don't know, actually, if Nix's did this. I do know it does most of the ports to PC for PlayStation, but I don't know if it did this one, actually. But
it just kind of makes me wonder what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
What, is this footage from PC?
No, this is PS5.
From PS5?
Yeah. We only have that little trailer, that 40-second trailer from the PC version, unfortunately. That's all they put out.
Last of Us Part 1 was maybe the worst. The chat's right. Last of Us Part 1
Last of Us was the worst one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one was not loading, textures in. They were like... Yeah. Some of the launch day footage of that was horrifying.
I mean, I haven't been playing these on PC because I didn't have a PC until now, so I'm going to start experiencing this stuff now. I'm going to start playing some of these games on PC and getting the lay of the land on this stuff.
Last of Us is good now. They fixed
I'm sure
they
will
fix
it.
it.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating if you want, especially if you've been waiting. I mean, it doesn't frustrate me that much because I've already played this game on PS5. But if you've been waiting a year to play Spider-Man 2, like, yeah, absolutely.
The wait goes on.
Absolutely, you should be pissed.
I mean, the wait goes on. Yeah.
I've seen
Hopefully, you didn't get burned by it.
I've seen a lot of people. I'm going to wait for them to patch it up, and I'm going to wait for it to have a 40% off sale. And I'm just like, fair. 100%.
It's a little at odds with each other that PlayStation fixes something with its PC versions and then releases a horrible PC version of one of its games.
Yeah.
The conflict of interest
and
there.
like once they're all done, like they're great. Ghost of Tsushima's great now.
Yeah, they eventually get them to a good place.
Now.
They don't give up. That's good.
Makes me very worried about Last of Us Part 2 later this year.
Right. Yeah.
Because I have been wanting to play that again, and I'm like, oh, I'll wait for the PC version, and now maybe I'm going to get screwed on that. I don't...
Or it comes out and you got to keep waiting.
Yeah.
To really play it, the version that you were hoping to play. It's a little dicey, but what's disappointing to me, Matt, is that PlayStation has gone through this already and released this game like this. It went through The Last of Us. It went through Horizon. It went through the bad ports to PC. And it knew how it pissed people off. And still, when it came down to it, it was like, nope, release it.
How many times we need to teach you this lesson, old man?
Seriously, though. Like, hello, wake up. So anyway, I don't know if this helps or hurts PlayStation on PC. I mean, getting to play Spider-Man only a year after it came out for PlayStation 5 is cool. But then if you play it and it's like a busted version of the game... Does that ultimately, is that to the good? I don't know. I'd imagine people who bought Spider-Man 2 for PC aren't exactly going to be waiting in line for The Last of Us Part 2 later this year after their experience with Spider-Man. So I don't see how it helps all that much when you're releasing games that aren't finished. I don't think that's ever a good idea. So it's a shame, but I'm sure there are people out there fighting through the bugs to play this game because it is that good. I mean, that's the thing. It is awesome to play. And probably there are issues, but it probably is still fun to play, would be my guess. So there's probably a lot of people that are still fighting through all the issues and playing it anyway. But disappointing, I guess is the way I would put it, to know Sony thought it was okay to put this game out on PC in the state that it's in. Knowing its reputation for porting games to PC. It's like it's shooting itself in the foot. So if you're excited about Marvel Spider-Man 2 for PC, you might want to wait a little bit before you dive in. I mean, perfect timing with the B-roll. Hilarious. Matt and I both love this game, and most people do. Most people think it's amazing. And eventually they'll get the PC version to a good place where it will also be amazing on PC. But it's hard to recommend that you buy it right out of the gate here. At least I wouldn't recommend it. What about you, Matt?
No, I mean, I certainly haven't bought it for myself, so I wouldn't say anybody else should buy it for themselves right now either.
Yeah.
Just wait until it's fixed.
Because
once it's fixed, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Retro Modern Gamer says, Matt just said what I do on PC releases. Wait for it to be patched and a price drop. Yeah. That's probably a smart strategy. Yeah, I think a lot of people do that with the original console version. They're like, I'm not going to buy the console version. I'm going to wait for the PC version. And then sometimes you get burned.
There have been a number, Outlaws was the same. The best thing with that was to wait until they fixed it up. Which they did. More or less, that game is, I think, more what it should have been at launch now. After they put out the DLC with Lando. And then they got they should have the new DLC coming in the next month or two.
Right.
For the Hondo one. And then that'll be finished up, and hopefully it'll be in a better state.
Probably too late.
Probably about when it, honestly, it probably should be coming out about now.
Yeah.
And Shadows should have been after that.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest on PlayStation games on PC. And then our last topic for today's episode of GameFace is that we got news this week that MultiVersus is being killed. The 2v2 Smash Brothers clone from Warner Brothers Games that has all the all-star cast of Warner Brothers and HBO and all these other properties that it owns all the rights to, that Matt and I both enjoyed.
Yeah, it was
when we played it. We thought it was good. I thought the 2v2
it was a very long time ago.
It was. I thought the 2v2 gave it a nice twist. It set it apart from other Smash Brothers clones. I thought it was fun to play, interesting to play. I liked the evolving stages. Mm-hmm. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff in this, and I thought the characters were characters I cared about and I enjoyed playing with. But it just tanked. And a big part of the problem was it showed up. We reviewed it basically here on GameFace, and then they took it away. Yeah. For like a year. Was it a year and a half or something?
Something like that. It was a long time.
And they bring it back. It's like, bro, what are you doing? Nobody does that. And now you know why. Nobody does that. Because it is idiotic. You don't make a game go away and just have it leave everyone's minds for 18 months. And, hey, remember us? Actually, I kind of don't. Because 50 other games have been announced since then that I'd rather spend my money on. It is the dumbest handling of a game as a service ever. Imagine if PlayStation, 14 months from now, re-releases Concord.
Yeah.
just like, what are you thinking?
And this probably cost us another Injustice game.
Probably. Yep. But it's going away. It is shutting down in May. The final season of the game launches, I believe, on February 5th. So, like, tomorrow, basically. Mm-hmm. And then you have that final season, that content to play through, and then it's going to be killed in May.
Well,
so
I hope...
And another one bites the dust.
I hope between this and Suicide Squad, Warner Brothers has learned its lesson about games as a service.
Yeah, it's probably just not going to make them anymore. Yeah, don't. Because you're right. They've been miserable failures that have lost tons and tons of money. And I do feel bad for the development team on this game. This game in particular, like
they definitely did their job very well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this game.
Yeah, when they introduced this game, instead of introducing it with a flashy trailer, they introduced it with the people who were working on the game, talking about how excited they were about the game and why they believed that the 2v2 thing was going to work and set it apart, and they were right about all of it, and they made a good game. Mm-hmm. But it was mishandled by the publisher, horribly mishandled by the publisher. It's not their fault that it ended up in this state, and now it's going to be gone, so...
I wish they'd gotten to put Godzilla in.
Yeah. But, and then people have spent like $100 on like the Founders Edition, and they're like, bro, where's my money? It's messy, man.
Never buy shit like that.
Nope.
Never do that. You can't trust this stuff.
I mean, I'm teetering on it right now with Civ 7, though. I know. It's going to be hard to resist. We'll see.
mean, at least that's not like some kind of live service ongoing thing. Like, you're going to get all the DLC for that, and it's supposed to come out in March and November. Like, you're going to get all that this year. At least sometimes this is like, you'll get 2 DLCs one day, you know, and like, whereas like if you look at the fine print on Civ 7, it's like, you will get this. They're all titled. Mm-hmm. These all come out in March. Then this, and this all come out this November.
Yeah.
So they at least know exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
Whereas this is just like the nebulousness of this game was, you know, you could never trust this long enough to buy $100 Founder. Are you fucking insane? No, don't do that.
Some people want to believe, Matt.
Well, we can't all be parappa. Yep. Some of us have to be realistic about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't see a lot of people in chat crying the blues over this game going away. It doesn't look like it really resonated with most of you guys all that much.
ETH Demon makes a good point. The other thing that Warner Brothers did this week is they added mod support to Hogwarts Legacy, which is the opposite of, you know, it's like, yeah, let's go back to there's your fucking solution. Because how many copies did that motherfucker sell?
Yeah.
Wait, up to 20 million now or something?
It's like 25 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy.
Is that not good enough compared to how long MultiVersus survived? Right. Like, which would you rather have?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it.
Again, the Duck Consulting Agency. We should be rich.
I hope somewhere in there. I mean, look, just for the not that I'm supporting the Harry Potter thing because of Rowling's behavior, but like, just in terms of a business decision, I hope Hogwarts Legacy 2 is well on the way because that's your fucking cash cow.
Yeah. That's like, the cash cow now.
How in the world? I mean, you better have 3 of those in the pipeline.
Right, and you better have all hands on deck. You should be doing a Ubisoft thing where you have 3 studios working on it, or a Battlefield thing.
Like that whole Quidditch game better just be slotted in there and like there needs to be a whole Quidditch season with brackets and shit in that game that has nothing to do with the story. It's like, if you just want to play Quidditch,
go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's your whole thing.
Yeah, create the ultimate Harry Potter game.
I understand why you left it out of the first game, but like, it has to be the full Hogwarts simulator this time.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. MultiVersus is going away. Again, no reaction in chat, which means you guys didn't play it, didn't care about it. It does feel like that is one genre where there can only be one.
Yeah, I mean, because that's
PlayStation's tried.
That's the thing. Is like, if you want to do that, you basically have to make something better than Smash Brothers, and I do not see that happening.
Good luck, because no one's going to give as much resources to it.
Right,
like
resources.
Nintendo will.
And the time and the roster and just the cachet of Nintendo over literally any other IP on the planet. Like, you can put whatever the hell you want in your Smash Brothers clone, but if you don't have any Pokemon, what are you doing?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I hear you.
And now they're probably going to get Master Chief. So, like, what?
Yeah.
You know, like...
Why does there need to be another one? There's really no reason for there to be another one. They get so many all-star lineups and guest characters in there anyway. It's like,
to paraphrase Sun Tzu, only an idiot fights when he knows he can't win.
Yeah.
And like anyone, if you're making a Smash Brothers clone on like a AAA level, as opposed to like kind of like a Brawlhalla thing is a different deal. But like if you're doing like a Warner Brothers, like you're choosing a losing battle.
Yeah.
Like, do not try to beat Nintendo with their own game.
It'll be
Especially
interesting
not
to see what
that
happens with
game.
Smash. I mean, who knows who's going to make the new one? And I think it's going to Sakurai's going to be like, nope, I was just kidding. I'm making it anyway.
I think they need to just carry Ultimate forward. Like,
I agree.
don't start over. Don't Sims
Just
it.
rebuild the graphics.
Rebuild
for Switch 2.
with the same game with better graphics and things, and maybe you can keep adding more characters.
Right.
I know it's hard because then you have to balance the new character against every other character in the entire game. And there's
That's
like,
the job.
Like how many?
That's the gig.
That's all you have to do from now on.
It's like, come
You know,
on, man, you can do it. Seriously. So anyway, there you go, MultiVersus DOA. In fact, I probably should have played Tap, so it's probably too late now. So we won't. All right. That was our last topic, and so now it's time for... That's right. It's time for Name That Game Tune, brought to you by Soundwizardry.com. Welcome back aboard. Welcome back to Name That Game Tune. Thank you, Soundwizardry.com, for sponsoring this segment again. This is my favorite sponsored thing we've ever done. So basically what I do is I play 5 vocal samples from a video game. It could be sound effects, it could be voiceover, it could be soundtrack. 5 audio snippets from a video game, and you try to guess the name of the game before this guy. Matt, you want to put on your headphones? Hopefully I'm used to where... Yeah, we haven't... They're a little dusty. We haven't used them for a while. A few things to keep in mind before we get going. The rules to Name That Game are the same as Name That Game Tune, meaning that you can only win once every calendar year. So if you've already won this year, and we've only had a few winners, please do not play. Also, the chat goes into slow mode, so don't just spam the chat with a bunch of random game titles, hoping that you'll win. You won't. Also, we'd appreciate it if either you play PC games or you know somebody who plays PC games that you can give a code to, because if you win, you get a code. Soundwizardry.com, by the way, again, a huge thanks for them coming back as a sponsor. They are the gods at audio work. If you need anything audio-wise for any of your video games, just go to Soundwizardry.com. Their resume speaks for itself. They have worked on several Game of the Year winners and contenders. They are incredible, and you would do very well to get them on your project. Again, go to Soundwizardry.com. Are you ready to do this, Matt?
Yeah.
All right. Are you guys ready to do this? You ready to play to Name That Game Tune? I hope I got everything lined up here and everything's good to go. I think I do. All right.
Turn it up a little bit.
You need your headphones turned up?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to blast your ears or anything.
That's fine.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. And let me get the sound effects lined up and we're ready to go. All right, you people ready? Here is the first sample for Name That Game Tune. And I'll play it probably twice.
Body Harvest.
No, you ruined it. You ruined it. No. All this time I've waited to do this. All this time I've waited for ETH Demon's day to come. No,
Where
ETH
is he?
Demon.
He didn't even say it.
He did.
Oh, Emperor Dread did.
Yeah, Emperor Dread's the one who always guesses body
He's an
harvest.
ETH Demon.
Oh, I think it's an Emperor Dread. It's Emperor Dread, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I'm sorry. I got it mixed up. I think we may still have to award it to Emperor Dread.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because it did come in like right after you. There is a chance that he got it before you did.
Yeah.
So we're going to give it to you. We have to give it to you.
For
Congratulations.
the sake of the running gag, you'd have to give it to him even if he wasn't here.
Oh, my best laid plans were just all destroyed because Matt's too damn good.
I play Body Harvest a lot.
I tried Emperor Dread. I wanted it to be this because we're bringing back Name That Game Tune, and I was like, it's going to be a special thing. Here's the good news, though. We are awarding it to you, Emperor Dread, because let's be honest, if anybody in chat, you definitely got it before anybody else, and you probably did get it before Matt actually answered it on your stream. But here's the great news, is that you are getting an awesome prize, my brother. So this, let me see if I can find my notes here. So Sifter Best Jeppy contacted me this week, and he's like,
I bought a code for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and I want you to give it away on GameFace this week. And so, my friend, you are getting one of the best ever prizes for Name That Game right here on episode 420. Congratulations, Emperor Dread. Your day has finally come. Oh, hell yeah. Right. Let me play the other samples for you as well. I'm surprised that first one gave it away.
Nothing else sounds like that motor sound.
Yeah. Here's the second
motor sound
one.
plus like the tinkly piano.
Yeah. Here's the second one.
I would have gotten that.
You would have got that too. Here's the third one.
Would have gotten that. Like, I'm evaluating if you've done it first.
Okay.
The different ones first.
And then here's the fifth one, and here's the fourth one. So that one you wouldn't have rung a bell.
I might not have gotten that one.
Okay. And then here's the last one, and this one's, if you don't get this one, you probably haven't played Body Harvest.
Yeah, that one's the mission start thing.
Yep. Congratulations, Emperor Dread. Finally, your day has come. I wish it had worked out more organically. I even thought about, like, talking to you before we did the show today and telling you not to really play. Seriously. But I didn't want to, like, cheat and fudge it because I wanted him to win. Like, he's been guessing Body Harvest for, like, 5 years on our show. Yeah. And I was like, I wanted him to win so stinking bad. And then you ended up winning anyway. So congratulations, man. We'll be back we'll do this every week going forward. This is a lot of fun. This is way better than the
It would have been more funny to give him Body Harvest,
right,
as the prize.
Right. That's just too much synergy at that point. I think my brain would have exploded. If Best Jeppy is like, I bought a random game and it's Body Harvest.
Right. Well, you have to ship him a cartridge.
A cartridge, yeah, because that's still trapped on the N64.
Yeah, there's no other way to get it.
And I don't think it's ever leaving the N64 either. Yeah. So congratulations. I'm glad you finally did win. You did get it. Just out of curiosity, did you recognize all 5 of the vocal samples? You just got a quick second to reply in chat. Emperor Dread. Emperor Dread says he's still got his OG card of it too. I do as well. I still have a card.
I have the original card, and I have a sealed copy.
I bet you that's probably worth some money.
Probably, because I got it because I thought I'd lost my cartridge, and then I found the cartridge, and I just had so I have a sealed copy of Body Harvest for no good reason.
Well, it is a good reason now.
The first one is
very
the one.
rare.
The first one, I do think the first one was the most recognizable of all 5 of them.
Emperor Dread says the first one is the one I knew best, so I totally failed.
Like that's motor sound plus the tinkly piano is pure Body Harvest. The others were actually harder to get.
Interesting. I totally screwed that one up. It's hard to figure out
because you hear those 2 sounds the most playing the game.
Yeah.
Like that the fourth one's harder because it's the very beginning of the game. You open in the opening and you only hear that once.
All the cars sound different though. They all have a different sound.
But in my head, I want to say that was the stupid Jeep from the beginning of the Greek.
No, it's the little like sedan.
little car.
Yeah.
A little shitty
buddy car.
Shitty Euro car.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So anyway, congratulations, Emperor Dread. I'm glad we finally got Body Harvest in the show and that you were the one to win it. So congratulations. Reach out to me. You can hit me up on here at twitch.tv/SIFTDgames. Hit me up on SIFTD where I'm at Shane. On Twitter, I'm at Dinfire. On Blue Sky, I'm at Shane Satterfield. Any of those places, hit me up and we'll get you your code for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Literally, probably the best game we've ever given away for Name That Game here on GameFace. So that's going to do it for GameFace episode 420. Just a reminder that we are supported 100% at patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD. For just $4 a month there, you get all our content early. For $2 a month, you get Pack Factor early. Yeah, we have like the most reasonable Patreon probably of all the gaming Patreons. So that would be awesome. If you don't have any money, you can help us in a bunch of different ways. You can, and actually, by the way, I called out some people on Spotify, and suddenly we got some comments and some stuff on Spotify. So thank you very much. That's awesome. So anyway, you can review the show on any of the podcast services,
That stuff really helps a ton. You can like it and share it on social media. You can leave a comment on the show on YouTube right now and like it and ring the bell and all that other crazy nonsense. That helps. And if you don't have any money, but you still want to give us money and you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can give us a free $2.50 every stinking month for just giving us your Twitch Prime subscription. If you're watching on YouTube, please go down below in the description and figure out how to do that. If you haven't done it for a while, please just go to twitch.tv/SIFTD click, $2.50, done. If you can't do that, I don't know what to tell you. That just means you don't want to help us. You don't care if we succeed or not. So lots of ways to help us, all of them beneficial in different ways, and they all make a difference. In fact, probably a good thing that you can do if you don't have any money and can help us monetarily is just go and like our new pilot for our new review content. Go to our channel on YouTube, and it's the latest video that we published. Just like it and maybe leave a comment for it. Maybe it can bubble up then, and so other people can see our review format, because I'll just tell you, no one else is doing reviews like we're doing them now. So I think if people see it, they'll be like, wow, that's different. Didn't expect anything like that. Haven't seen anything like that. And maybe they're like, subscribe. I want to see more of this stuff. It can make a huge difference for us, and we'd really, really appreciate it. So, yep. For our patrons, keep an eye out over the next day or two. We will have our live review of Eternal Strands going up that Matt and I are about to record right now. And then it'll be edited and put up for our patrons and for all the good people who love SIFTD. So thanks to our chat as usual. You guys made the show better. You always do. We appreciate it. We're here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/SIFTDgames. We love you guys. Have yourselves a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday. GameFace is up and out.